So, hello everyone, good afternoon and welcome. This is Ramola D from Ramola D Reports, and I'm here today with Seven of Solutionaries Media Network. Welcome, Seven. It's been a very long time since we last spoke, and I'm delighted to welcome you back onto the show.
Greetings, Ramola. It's really great to see you again. It's been ages. I can't even believe how long it's been.
Likewise, we've both been super busy.
Mega busy.
Mega busy. And perhaps I should tell our viewers, Seven, that you've been especially busy with the tribunal. And I've sort of been hearing little snippets of information here and there, but I've been too busy to really follow closely. So I'm hoping that you'll fill us in and tell us a little more about what's been happening. I understand it was the Natural and Common Law Tribunal for Public Health and Justice, which you co-founded with Alfred Weber. So do let us know what's been going on and what you've been doing. I should also tell our viewers, Seven, that you are an entertainer, a musician, a music producer, a writer, a documentarian, a concept creator, concept innovator, and you've had some mega cases which you have won, and you have a very intricate grasp of the law, which many people are completely blown away by. Looking at all of the stuff that comes out of your pen, really, your affidavits and so on, your reports, I'm blown away myself. So this is part of why I think you worked in this tribunal with Alfred, right? You had this idea of starting or forming a tribunal together?
Yeah, I think definitely my background in law and Alfred's background in law was the foundation of why we decided we would do this. And basically, Alfred and I'd known Alfred, worked with Alfred for about 6 years, had an excellent working relationship, have to say. I thoroughly enjoyed it. He was my absolute go-to person, absolutely loved Alfred. Never had a dispute with him, always had a very harmonious relationship. Anyway, I say that because some of the things that have transpired of late has shown a completely different character than the man that I was working with and loved. He's not the person that I know anymore, and it is very, very sad. But anyway, we'll get into that. Just for a bit of background, last year, with the sort of wake with the whole Rona Sharona situation,
Right.
you know, yeah, Sharona, because it's just a joke, right? And so Alfred and I looked at the evidence, and obviously we saw that it was a complete scam. We could see it was a planned thing. You've done your amazing report as well, which
absolutely.
You've done
I'm
some
right there with you.
reports. Absolutely. And so basically about on the 26th, and I'll show you a little bit, I'll share screen in a minute, but I'll just give people a little bit of an overview. Alfred and I, on the 26th of March 2020, because of the fact that we both do law, we both really enjoyed working together, and we were both really appalled by the whole situation, we decided that we would co-found a tribunal for health and justice. Basically, Alfred's background is an attorney, as many people know, and also he has accreditations in health. And so we looked at loads and loads of evidence, you know, research, tons of evidence, and then came to the conclusion that we need to do something about it, particularly in regards to the lockdowns, because in the UK, by the 26th, I think the lockdown had just been happening for days at that point. But we all knew, everybody that's, you know, a researcher, a journalist, or an investigator, or somebody in law, anybody that's honest will look at this situation and say, this is a scam. Absolutely. You know, this is the scam of the century. So Alfred and I decided that we were going to do this thing. And there is a video. In fact, I should share the screen now as I'm talking. We can go along.
Okay.
And okay, let me just see if I can pull up a video. I'm not sure how to share.
Oh, there should be a little share icon right at the bottom, perhaps, on that bar.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure, 1 second, I'm just trying to figure where the video is located. Where would it be located? Is it here?
Okay, sure.
I'm just trying to find out where I've actually put it. If I can find where I put it, then I can actually pull it up. Okay, here. All right, so there's a couple of videos, but I'll pull the first video up.
Okay.
All right, so basically, I need to get back to you now. I'm trying to find. Okay, so this is the share. Okay, so can you see that, Ramola?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, so this is Alfred. There's me, and there's Alfred. And basically, the date of this video. Let me see if I can scroll down on the page. Then you can see. This is actually the 26th of March 2020, and it's when Alfred and I co-founded the tribunal together. I'm just trying to figure out a way if I can, because I can't find the, the thing to make the page go down.
Oh, the
On
scrolling bar. It should be
yeah.
to the right, maybe.
I can't seem to find it.
Well,
There's another. Let me just. I'm just seeing if I can pull this. Let's see if I can do this.
It should work.
Okay. So here you can see. Natural and Common Law Tribunal on Unlawful Corona, Judges 7 and Alfred Weber. This is the 27th of 2020. We co-founded it on the actual 26th.
Terrific. That must have been while I was still in India last year.
Judge Alfred Weber, and I'm with my fellow Judge 7
Can you hear
from
this?
the UK.
I can hear it. I can hear it loud and clear.
And this is an opinion of the Natural and Common Law Tribunal for Public Health and Justice, being held on the 26th of March of 2020.
Right, so this is when we co-founded the tribunal together. And this is the video. You can go through it, and basically you can see this was the launch. Yeah.
This is your very first video on the subject.
Yeah, this is the first video with Alfred and I when we agreed to start a tribunal. And then you can see
brilliant
my name, and there's Alfred's name. It's got a bit of my background. It's got a bit of his background as the co-founders. And this is very important because, there is some deceit going on at the moment to change history, as you are fully aware. But this is the evidence.
Very sad.
Sorry?
I'm very sorry to hear that revisions of history are underway. And yes, I am somewhat aware through watching the stream of emails across my desk. Thank you for including me in the flow. But perhaps, you want to just round out the whole story for our viewers. Because
I will do. But before, I just want to establish that this tribunal was founded by Alfred. There's Alfred, and there's myself. And
so Alfred understood as well that he was co-founding it with you. You were both.
Yeah, you can see it.
It's cognizant of that fact. Yeah,
it's written there. It's written. We are we basically start this tribunal. We even as a tribunal, we get invited to the ITNJ. Let me just try to bring this up. This, which is Sasha Stone's. So, and this is April 2020. So we're very active as a tribunal at this point. It's just him and I, and basically Alfred speaks
as a cooperating attorney,
as a judge, and then I speak.
With the New York Civil Liberties Union.
And we're on there as the Natural and Common Law Tribunal for Public Health and Justice.
1969
So what we're going to see a little bit further down the line, you'll see me. I'm just finding it a little bit difficult. Let's see if I can move this thing a bit along, and then you'll see me.
Was
There's
that
me.
was that a
That's
hearing at
me.
was that
You can
hearing at the
see,
ITNJ just for you both for your tribunal?
yes, and you can see
Okay.
Judge 7, and it
Yes.
says Natural and Common Law Tribunal for Public Health and Justice. Underneath, I don't know if you can. Somebody that was on the panel that I did yesterday.
Yeah. If you go down a bit, we could probably see the title. But
Can
I
do
see
you want?
the tab about ITNJ, the ITNJ Judicial Commission of Inquiry into
But can you
Weaponization.
see my name? Can you see my name at the side?
I see your name now, Judge 7, yeah. And
Yes.
below
So
that, you've
let's just
got
play a bit.
Emergency Tribunal Hearing. Okay.
It was in 1998 and it's called Wag the Dog. Now, this particular movie is about
So now you see me
situation
again.
whereby
So basically, that is the tribunal, and as a tribunal, we go on to Sasha Stone's tribunal. We get invited to go on there as a tribunal, and that is. Let me just show people the date, because I don't like liars. I don't like people who lie, and I don't like people who try to undermine my. You can see the facts. This is evidence, people.
So there was no situation whereby Judge Alfred Weber founded the tribunal and you were a judge on the tribunal. It was actually a case of co-founding?
We co-founded it together. And so from then on, we started it, we launched it on that day. Whoops, sorry, I don't know how that has opened.
Oh,
There's
no
some
worries.
evidence. Yeah, I don't know what that is. But anyway, it's probably one of the links in terms of as the tribunal, we were sharing links of what was happening. But anyway, basically, there are a number of videos that whereby Alfred and I did videos together and as a tribunal, and we started on the 26th, as I showed you with that video. And then basically I worked my ass off from a domestic violence refuge. I worked morning, noon and night to push this tribunal. I got it into music circles, spiritual circles, activist circles. I got it into Black culture circles. I got it into, I mean, I worked my ass off. I got it into creative circles, intellectual circles, celebrity circles. I pushed this thing, Ramola, and you're aware because I actually plugged it on your platform when we did things together as well.
Yes.
And also, you know, I organized press conferences. I organized press conferences, radio talks, where Alfred and I went as the tribunal co-founders. We appeared on many platforms together, radio shows together, and lots of radio shows would testify to that, you know, to me sort of appearing on their platforms. And I say all that is because history is being rewritten to write me out of it, deliberately so. And it's a disgrace, Ramola. It's a gross disgrace. What is taking place is a gross disgrace. It's exploitation. It's abuse. I mean, the level of lies and deception that we have seen to multiple people in regards to this tribunal is shocking, Ramola. It's just shocking. And as I said, Alfred was one of my favorite people in the world. In fact, Alfred is on my screensaver. If I was to open, still there. When I open my computer, the first face I see is Alfred. You know, I haven't changed it because I have to change it, but that's how you know, important he was to me. In fact, I even made a video for him to promote himself. Do you remember some time back?
He's covered. I know he's covered your case from way back, right? I seem to recall a lot of video interviews you've done on his channel from way back.
We go back so long, and he was my favorite person. And as I said, we co-founded this tribunal on the 26th of March 2020. And once it started to get established, because I pushed it hard, I got it into circles Alfred doesn't have access to. That's just the reality of it. As a younger woman of, you know, who's eclectic and in different sort of social circles, I got the tribunal into places that he just wouldn't have been able to do. You know, that's just the reality. And you know, I worked really, really hard. I spent all my money, all my time, everything, all my resources, was because for me, as somebody who has sued 10 corporations and won and knows what these people are capable of, I knew, because there were connections with the case that I won, Virgin being involved in that case, and also the whole Rona situation, the Sharona situation, whereby Virgin Media had taken, the company Virgin had actually taken over the NHS. And so there were linkages.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
There were linkages directly, and I could see how this had morphed because I know the cartel in question. It's a deep state cartel. And so as I started to see the things unfolding, it was horror to me. And I was very, very concerned for public safety. I mean, these are people that have, you know, I've seen members of my family die under suspicious circumstances repeatedly, including my cousin Ronnie Nicholas, who was poisoned. He was poisoned in I found him on the 14th of March 2019. And he died in front of me. He was vomiting all over the place. And so for me, firsthand, I know what these people are capable of. And so when I saw the Sharona situation and I saw the players that were involved, I knew that people were in danger. That's just the long and short of it. And so I was compelled to protect people and to utilize a mechanism to protect people, as I believed was Alfred. And so we came together and didn't waste any time. He worked really hard. I mean, particularly for somebody of his senior age, he worked very hard. We both worked very hard. Researched evidence. I looked at all the different types of laws, some of the laws that he's not familiar with. In fact, he used to say to me, "How do you know so much about law?" And I thought, you know, it's just because of my circumstances. When you end up suing 10 corporations and you don't get justice, you sue them and you still don't get paid. My work is still all over the world. It's been sold in 126 countries. There are people living off my estate. And I believe those very people are behind what has happened to the tribunal. I believe
Really? Wow.
I actually do believe that. And so to cut to the long and short of it, basically by November, we decided, you know, later in the year, we decided that we were going to hold hearings. So in order to hold hearings, you can't just have the two of us. You have to invite other judges. So this is why half the judges were brought in by myself and the other half by Alfred, because we were both the co-founders. Other judges didn't bring judges in. It was just Alfred and I who brought in the judges.
And when did they start coming in?
So basically, we organized to have two hearings, one on the 15th of November, and then also we had another hearing on the 29th of November. The first hearing, really whereby people announced themselves. And on that hearing, I'm introduced to everybody as the co-founder with Alfred. Everybody is aware that I'm the co-founder. And so basically, Alfred brought in people that I don't know if he knew at the time. Probably the likelihood is that he didn't know, but it's possible that he did. But the likelihood is that he didn't know that these people were deep state operatives. Now, on the 15th, the initial hearings, so it's the 15th of November 2020, and together, I bring in maybe about 18 judges.
Okay.
Alfred brings in the rest of the judges. In total, there's about 32 judges in total.
Okay.
But we lose one judge because she dies on the 22nd of November. Don't know how she died.
Judge Sally Elcordy, right?
Yeah, Sally Elcordy. She's a vaccine. She was a vaccine expert, and Alfred said that he had had conversations with her beforehand, and you know, she was very well. She was very healthy. There was no reason there was nothing wrong with her, and for her to die suddenly was, you know, it was a shock to everybody.
Yeah, it's
However,
shocking how several people recently have been taken out, it appears. I mean, Sally Elcordy is one of them. Brandy Vaughan, I'm sure you've heard her name. Medical
no,
freedom activist. Yeah, Merck whistleblower, pharmaceutical industry whistleblower. Sudden
wow,
death. Yeah. Found dead
wow,
in her home by her child, her 9-year-old child.
wow.
Mm.
I
Huge
mean,
story.
wow. May
Mhm.
they rest in peace, you know,
Yeah,
and may people keep up the fight for them, you know. They gave
absolutely.
their
And keep their
lives.
memories alive and
Keep
continue the
their memory.
fight that they were engaged in. Yeah.
That's absolutely right. So yeah, we lost Sally on the 22nd. I don't know what happened to her. I didn't actually know her. Alfred, I believe, knew her. I didn't know her.
Okay.
And I think it was the 29th of November we convened indictment hearings. Now, majority of us over the time, well, myself, I had been piling in the evidence like daily, you know, and people came along with their evidence. And the people that we invited all had different expertise. For instance, I brought in Mark Steele and Lena, who were 5G experts. I
Lena
believe Lena's
Poo.
in America. Is she in America or is she in Canada?
Canada. Canada, I think. Yeah.
Lena's in Canada.
I always thought she was in Canada. I could be mistaken.
I don't know. I always thought she was
Mm.
in the US. Anyway,
Mm.
brilliant, amazing Lena Poo. What a
Yes, she
star she
is.
is. She is a beautiful woman inside and out, and the work she does is just unbelievable. And I was just so honored that she agreed to be a tribunal judge. And I think majority of the people that came in all had the feeling that it was a great honor to have such an appointment, you know, to be asked to be a judge on the tribunal to protect
Sure.
humanity. It's a very
Hmm.
noble cause. It's,
Absolutely.
you know, and
Wonderful idea to have created a tribunal like that and to bring
yeah,
people in.
yeah. I mean, the intention. This is why it hurts my heart what's happened, Ramola. Hurts my heart the lies that are being told and the destruction of this beautiful thing. I mean, it happens in every instance where you formulate a noble organization to help humanity, and that organization gets totally infiltrated and torn to pieces, and people get brutalized, as what has happened in this situation. And so basically, Alfred brought in various different people, and some of them
Hmm.
most definitely were deep state operatives. So in December.
Did you know about this at the beginning? Did you and Alfred have decisions and discussions as to who to bring on and that kind of thing?
Well, we had throughout the year, we had engaged a lot of people. We held press conferences. We did something called COVID Gate, which is something I came up with. COVID Gate. Well, actually, it was a friend of mine that said, you should do something COVID Gate. And I said to Alfred, let's do COVID Gate. So we held press conferences about the whole Sharola situation. And, you know, I found innovative ways of how we would address it. And so that's how Kate Shamarani, shout out to Kate, the amazing Kate Shamarani, natural nurse in a toxic world.
She's brilliant.
She's an amazing woman, absolutely fabulous. I love Kate. And Mark Steele, another wonderful person. I mean, it was just a whole array of amazing people. I managed to get the people that were out there. They all had their own name out, you know, they were all well established in their own fields out there. And I had been engaging them for some time anyway, because as I said, we were doing press conferences, and Kate came on many times. Kemet Imani, I don't know if you know Kemet Imani.
I don't know Kemet.
Kemet, shout out to Kemet Imani, another amazing woman, absolutely phenomenal, powerful, wonderful, hard-working sister. Oh my God, these women I'm talking about, these are not just ordinary women. These are the completely quintessential archetype, like yourself, Ramola, of the divine feminine.
Oh, thank you. I know you were doing that series for a while, right? The Divine Feminine.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I had so many things going on, so I didn't get to really take it where I want to, but I am going to revisit that. But yeah, I mean, then there was Mark Steele, and then I met Jimothy via you, Jimothy Masters. I mean, there were so many people. Anyway, everybody I brought in, I knew. And I knew that these people were solid, okay, because I'd worked with them. Some of them have got massive platforms. People like Mark Steele and Kate, they're very well established out there, and so they're very active. I mean, both of them get a lot of flack. That's because brilliant people always get a lot of flack. That's what I realized in this
As
game.
we know.
Yeah. The ones that are slandered are the ones that they're really trying to pull down, you know.
Absolutely.
And so I should have it as a badge of honor that they're
totally
really
a badge of honor, Seven.
They're going hammers and tongs at me right now. So I should really have it as a badge of honor, as to my integrity, you know. Anyway, basically, so yeah, Alfred brings people in. I don't know, is there anybody that I knew that he brought in? Probably not. Some of them are already names. And some of them are also Michelle Young. She's another powerful, wonderful woman.
Oh,
Michelle
absolutely.
Young.
I've been doing those panels with her for a long time. She's fabulous, and she's driven and very dedicated, you know, to the same causes that we are, you know, helping humanity, exposing crime, finding justice, all of those things.
Also, she's a victim of it herself.
Yeah,
she's gone through
sadly.
You know, she's been absolutely brutalized in the British judicial system. So she has a first-hand, like myself, experience of what's really going on.
Now, did you bring her on? Were you instrumental in helping Michelle become a part of the tribunal?
I was the one that you know, invited Michelle, and she brought. You know, there was also Simone. There was another Simone from the Canada newspaper. There's two Simones that I brought in.
Simone Marshall.
Yeah, there's Simone Marshall, but there's another Simone Jennifer who is part of the Caribbean News. Is it?
Oh yes, I've read her articles on you actually.
Yeah, she's absolutely phenomenal, amazing. Another shout out to Simone. A lot of amazing people, and again, you know, Mark Steele. And
Yes.
one of the things that were
Mhm.
consistent with all of these people were they were very godly, spiritual, the people that I brought in,
Okay. Yeah.
very godly, spiritual people, you know. And for me, that was really essential, because the ethos of what we were doing is for the people, by the people. And you have to come with a certain level of purity in terms of your intention. You know, this is about protecting humanity and creating a function to protect humanity.
Yeah.
And so Alfred brought in people that have no godliness whatsoever. And they come from the ethos of dog eat dog, you know, step on anybody, slander, manipulate to get ahead, that
Oh
kind of
dear.
mindset. So anyway, in January of 2020, a very good friend of mine had a friend die, or well, it's actually a relative of hers by marriage. Leon, he died basically, he was dying. He hadn't actually died when I got to her, but in the course of the time, he was in the process of dying, and he finally did die in January sort of time. And so her and I decided that we were going to do prayers. So we spent from December into early January. I went to her for Christmas with her daughter, and we spent the entire time doing prayers and
Wow.
doing some deep, deep, deep spiritual prayers. I tell you, lighting candles, and it was very profound. It was so profound. And so when I got back in January to the tribunal, I got a message from a tribunal judge, and I'm not going to mention his name, even though I have said his. He knows who he is. He said, "Seven, have you seen the infighting?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" They was like, "Have you seen all the emails?" There was like a massive fight going on between Rima Laibal and another judge from India called Dr. Leo Ribello. Do you know Dr. Leo Ribello?
No, but I
You
do
should
know
have him
Dr.
on.
Rima. I don't know Dr. Leo Ribello. I do know Dr. Rima Lebo. She's been actually on a panel with Michelle and me. Yeah.
She's not a nice person. She's not a nice person at all. She's not who she says she is. I'm telling you, people.
She was very nice
Straight
on
to
my
the point.
show. She was a lovely
Yeah,
person on my show,
she was a
and
nice.
full of energy, full of enthusiasm. And you know, she was kind of giving advice to people as to standing up for your rights. And she also has this focus on informed consent, and she has this advanced medical directive card. So she was talking about
Yeah.
that, things like
So
that.
I was plugging that. I have been, and I've made a number of videos plugging that, not realizing that this woman was plotting my downfall. And not just me, one by one, judges were being picked off. And in every single case, Ramola, she was in the middle of it. Now, basically, I came back to find out that Rima Laibal and Dr. Leo Ribello was having a heated exchange. Leo Ribello called her out, and I'll show you, in fact, what I should do, because we don't have a great deal of time. It's probably a good thing that I do is to just show people what Leo said. Leo is a good person to have on your show. Now, Dr.
Okay.
Leo Ribello, I came back, I had about 60,000 emails. I mean, my email was just like, oh my God, how am I ever going to go through this? And so when I was told about this thing, I had to go through a lot of emails to find it. And so basically, I raised it in the tribunal, and I'm going to share screen again so
Okay.
that people can see. Before I share it, I should give some context to what it is that I'm sharing. So just to give you a bit of background, I came back to hearing about this infighting. In fact, rewind. I came back to find out that Lena was gone.
Oh, really? Oh,
I was
no.
heartbroken. I was like, where is Lena gone? Lena was gone because she asked Alfred to remove. Okay, let me just rewind a little bit, just to get people to have a bit of understanding of what occurred. There was a situation that was happening that 32 judges had been arranged. They hadn't been sworn in, actually, and they never were sworn in.
Okay.
Alfred forgot to do it, to be honest with you. It can happen. It just didn't happen. But he should have sworn everybody in by oath, but he didn't. Anyway, what happened was Alfred was established as the chief judge. Obviously, I'm the founder and he's the founder, but he's a senior age than me, so he's considered chief judge. Now, one of the things that was happening was that Alfred was bringing in judges after the fact. So 32 judges have all been listed, they've all been agreed, these are our judges. Lena was a bit concerned because Alfred was, after all of these judges had been agreed, he was bringing in people outside anybody else's knowledge. Okay, and so Lena was concerned. She said, I'm a bit concerned here. You're bringing in these people. Who are these people? You've agreed to these people here. I can sit here and say, okay, I'll work with these people, but you're bringing in new people and you're not letting anybody else know. But also he was removing people without anybody else know. There was no due process, no sort of inaugurating people in. There should be some protocol. If you're a tribunal judge, it can't be that I just say to my mate, oh, do you want to be a tribunal judge? Come down.
Yeah.
And that basically
yeah, so it was a lot more serious and formal than that, and yet at the same time.
It should have been, but it wasn't. So Lena was very concerned. So I'm saying all this, people, so that you can understand there has been a situation of absolute corruption. And because I am a tribunal co-founder and I observed, besides my own mistreatment, and my own mistreatment has been unbelievable. The amount of abuse, Ramola, personally, slander, lies, defamation. You told me Alfred wrote that I never was a co-founder. It's a lie. And I feel sad for Alfred because there's so much evidence on everything. And it's a case of, I don't know what's happened to him. I don't know what's happened to him. I'm not here to sit and slander Alfred or slag Alfred, although he's doing that to me. I'm not here for that. This was a man that I loved. If I show you my screensaver, you'll see Alfred. Yeah. He was someone I absolutely saw as a father figure. And I thought, if I ever get married one day again in my life, I would like Alfred to be there, because I don't have my father.
Oh, wow.
So he was really important to me. And to see it come to where it's come to, Ramola, it's so hurtful, especially how people have been treated. Besides myself is one thing, but many, many, many judges were being removed, were being slandered, were being defamation of character, were being lied about. I mean, it was off the charts.
Excuse me.
And it came to the point where I was just basically, I would set up meetings for Alfred and he would lose it in the meetings. And he would deeply start shouting at people. He would offend people. He'd deeply offend people and insult people. And I was just going around apologizing for him. I just said, look, to do the kind of work that he's doing at his age is not easy. It's not an easy thing. And the work he's doing, and he's masterful at it, And Alfred is a genius. I honestly say Alfred is an absolute starseed genius who has been compromised. He's been taken over. I don't know if they've threatened him. I don't know if they've paid him. I don't know if how they've done it, but he's not the Alfred that I know, and people that have known him for 12 years, longer than me. I knew him 6 years. And there are people that knew him, like John and Bonnie. They said they knew him 12 years and they don't recognize him. And the person who now appears is not a nice person, Ramola. That's just what it is. And I have kind of gone around making excuses and apologizing to people. And I don't think he even was aware that I've been doing this. People would complain to me. And I feel like a duty of responsibility and accountability because I founded this thing. I founded this thing to protect people, and it's being utilized as a tool to abuse people, and it's so wrong. So
the things that you're talking about, Seven, did other people as well on the tribunal see them?
Absolutely. This is why an investigation had to take place.
Okay.
Before I show you the documents that I want to show you, I'll just give you a little bit more context in terms of myself. There was a number of judges being systematically removed, Leo Ribello being one of them. And because I worked with Alfred for so long, and he's kind of one of those people that you just couldn't say anything bad about Alfred to me. I just wouldn't hear it. Just wouldn't hear it. And so there were all these emails saying that he was abusive and that he was behaving like a dictator. I'll show you the emails because they're part of an investigation. And I just didn't want to hear it. This is my Alfred. Who do you think you are? And so anyway, I mean, at the same time, I'm a professional. I co-founded this with him. Mm-hmm. And so my responsibility is to take care of everybody, you know. And so when Lena had some concerns, and myself, Michelle, and another judge, Galactic Clyde, his name's Clyde Harris. He is one of the loveliest men you'll ever meet. He's such a sweetheart. He's the man, if there was a war between tribes and factions, you bring him in to mediate and get people to calm down. He's
He's diplomatic and a negotiator and a mediator.
He just he's not got a bad bone in his body. He's a sweetheart. He is a lovely human being, and he's so gifted and intelligent and knowledgeable about astrology, herbs, the stars. I mean, he's just amazing, this man. And so anyway, he came along when Lena was concerned about Sasha, because Sasha Stone was now on the list and she didn't see him on the list beforehand. Now, Michelle knows Sasha Stone really well. I know Sasha a little bit, but Michelle knows him very, very well. She can testify to him. And Lena had heard all kinds of bad things about Sasha, like you do about everybody. And so I said, Michelle, you know Sasha really well. Would you speak to Lena, please? And Galactic Clyde came. And Michelle said, look, I know Sasha. He's a really good soul. He cares about people. He cares about humanity. And, you know, I wouldn't listen to any of it. And we set Lena's mind at rest, you know, She was okay. And then the situation came with Magnus Olsson. But instead of explaining it, I'm going to show you. But what happened was, it was Lena. So I come back after all these prayers I'd been gone for approximately about 2 weeks. And I came back and it was, Ribello was gone and Lena was gone. And there was
so had they had hearings or sessions while you were gone? Or was it just on email that all of this happened?
Well, this is the thing. There was no due process in the removal. Lena gave her resignation but it should have been discussed with the whole tribunal before she was allowed to give a resignation. She basically brought a situation up about Magnus having photographs of what she said was naked women or near naked women, explicit pictures of women on his social media page. And as a tribunal judge, you have to have some form of integrity. You can't really be pushing pictures of naked, near naked women. So she basically raised that to Alfred. And she said, you've brought, because he brought this man in without actually anybody being informed. He was like, this is my mate, I'm bringing him in. And that's pretty much how it was going, you know. And so Lena didn't like that. And so she challenged Alfred. She said, look, Alfred, this is not good for our reputation, particularly in issues of sex trafficking. You know, there's sensitivities, sensibilities in these types of issues. Alfred let Lena go, and she kept Magnus, who never showed up to tribunal meetings in all the time that I saw. I don't think I've ever been on any of the enforcement meetings. We had regular meetings, which is something I arranged, that we should have regular weekly meetings. And he was never there. Whereas Lena had a great body of work that she came with. She had her
5G activism, right? And her notices of liability and all that.
Yeah, notice of liability orders. She's a serious warrior. She's a serious worker.
She's also has a focus on EMF and Wi-Fi, so not sensitivity so much as all of the issues surrounding the harms of Wi-Fi.
Yeah, particularly the harm to children with Wi-Fi and 5G
the harm
technology.
to children.
Yeah, and you know, we done conferences with Lena before, so I knew what she was about, and I knew her kind of work ethic, and I knew her professionalism, and she was just one of the most powerful people to have on there. Everybody that I brought in, and I'm sure majority of the people that Alfred brought in were excellent. However, there were some that had a completely different agenda, which it started to later unfold. Now, systematically, judges were being picked off one by one and removed. Rebello, an expert doctor as well. The other person was Ingrid Cassel. She was a vaccine expert, removed. I mean, if you looked at the pattern of these are the power people were being removed. They tried to remove Mark Steele because Lena was gone. Now they tried to remove Mark Steele, and I wouldn't allow it. There was no way. Alfred was saying to me, 7, Mark Steele, they want to. I said, no way. Mark Steele stays because of the fact that, from my point of view, he's a man of God, period. If you talk to Mark Steele, there's never a conversation you will have with Mark Steele without him mentioning the work of the Most High and the significance of Scripture and the Most High. This is a man of God. There was no way. I knew who he was, and he wasn't going anywhere. That was a problem. They wanted me out. So they had to try to invent a reason to get rid of me. So basically, by March, they created Alfred was having meetings behind my back. Didn't know anything about it. He was having
what about the other people on the panel? Did they know about it?
No. Behind my back, particularly because I'm the founder, and I'd spent a year of my life and my money, all my time. Blood, sweat and tears, Ramola. There were times when I was on radio shows back to back to back to back to back, and I was just so exhausted, but I pushed myself. There were some panels, one panel I even fell asleep. I was on the panel and I found myself falling asleep. It was like, oh my God, I was so exhausted. I was working so hard, Ramola. I cheered and I had mobilized countless people all across the world, Ramola, to get on board with this thing.
I do recall seeing a lot of your videos at the time, 7. You were doing this is why I think our Newswatch shows also came to an end, I think, because you were so busy and I was busy. all the things were happening last year. I was traveling, and then I came back and picked up my work and all that. So you were doing your own thing, and you were putting out a lot of videos. I remember seeing huge numbers of views on some of your videos.
Yeah, I was putting out videos all the time, and basically some of the videos I realize now when I look back in reflection, because I had started this series called 7 Questions to the Tribunal Judges so that people could get to know the judges, and that was being obstructed, and I was like, why is this happening? And then now I see why. Because these things were becoming popular. I was just coming up with new innovative ways to get the tribunal everywhere. I got the tribunal in remote sort of places like where tribesmen are, indigenous tribesmen.
Incredible. Hats off to you for doing that. Kudos. That's pretty brilliant.
I worked non-stop, and I enjoyed it because I believed there was an urgency to help people.
Definitely was an urgency. There still is, as you know.
Yeah,
These lockdowns have not stopped. Yeah.
Which is why, you know, we will continue under a new name, etc. So basically, by March, in a meeting, I was told after the fact that a new executive administration team was going to be created. This administrative team, headed by Rima Leiba, Michael Zazio, and another man called Ralph Sitola. Now, I'm somebody that has a lot of knowledge in law, and a tribunal, essentially, its foundations is in law. Obviously, the subject is Corona Sharona, but the reality is it's a tribunal which basically has its foundation in law. And so, you know, under the international code, but obviously we acknowledge things like the Nuremberg Code and also the Declaration of Human Rights. I raised the issue about ultra-virus, which is basically flagging up beyond the scope of powers, which is to do with basically when any corporation, because if effectively governmental institutions are corporations, most people are aware of that at this point.
And a lot of people.
Yes, and so basically we the people give the powers through the electoral process. We are the ones that decide who comes in and who represents the people. And when they go beyond the powers that the people give them, that's called ultra virus. And so, you know, there were different types of laws that Alfred knew nothing about. Things like nullification, which is another law which was used when you have situations where it was once used back in the day for in terms of taxes and tariffs being charged, and different states wanted to pull out. It's an American thing, nullification.
Is that jury nullification?
Sorry?
Is that jury nullification? It's not. It's something else. Okay.
No. Nullification is to nullify is to basically render something null and void. You know,
right.
Yeah, nullify. And so, you know, they're different because obviously we come from different backgrounds, so we have different knowledge in law. And so I brought quite different things to the table that Alfred wouldn't have brought to the table had I not been there. And so and it was complementary because he's a pro. He's been for years and years an attorney. However, I have to be honest, there wasn't a great deal of law being followed in regards to Alfred. He was just doing his own thing. He wasn't following law, and that was a problem because people were being defamed. You know, when you're dealing with people, especially in a tribunal, this is a tribunal supposed to be a tribunal of conscience, which has its roots in the Vietnam, kind of after the Vietnam War. There's no kind of judicial branch that will take on the whole fact that the people were being killed in Vietnam. So the people came together as a tribe, And that's what's called a tribunal of conscience. It's basically for the people, by the people. Now, the international code that we were following had been ratified by 123 nations. And so basically, for people that don't understand the ratification process, it's basically, it was signed off by the legislative and the executive branches of government that would sign this treaty, which is the Treaty of Rome, Statute Treaty of Rome. So
I was going to mention that, the Rome Statute, yeah.
Yes. So basically, these countries are signatories to protect people from crimes against humanity.
That's right.
And you know yourself, after looking at the World at Risk report from 2005, and obviously the Rockefeller lockstep report, that this was a simulated exercise.
Completely. And also the International Health Agreement of 2005. Yeah.
Yes.
And it was signed off by all of these countries, 196
countries. 196 countries had signed off that particular document. And so we knew that this was bogus. It was entirely bogus. So, you know, we had enough to go by. However, when you put the tribunal such as this together, you also are kind of accountable to follow the law. So when I saw that due process was not being followed, this was what was being flagged up. People were being removed as judges, eliminated, picked off one by one and removed by an email. A defamatory, insulting email was sent to people, removed systematically, one by one. And so when it came to Leo Ribello, I actually went to the tribunal meeting and I said, look, what is going on with the situation with Leo? What has happened? You know, because other judges contacted me and said, Seven, are you aware of this? This is awful. And also other judges were reluctant to turn up because they were seeing all this absolute garbage happening, you know, slagging each other off and infighting. This is in January. I'm like, oh my God, this is awful. So I say to Alfred and everybody, we need to address this. And they said, look, Leo Ribello is mentally challenged. He's mental. There's nothing you can do about him. And I was like, because I had been away. They said, we've all tried. We can't do anything for him. He's mental. I was like, oh, okay, I didn't realize. Now, at that time, remember,
that's a red flag right away.
Well, I mean, I just worked with Alfred for 6 years. And if Alfred told me that this man is mental, I just thought, okay, he must be. Leave it alone.
Really? So you took him at his word, because, you know, the term mentally unstable, it's often used, as we know, to wrongfully target and dismiss and discredit people.
That's right. That's why I'm raising that point now. Because as time went on, I had to basically start to look at the evidence. And so what actually had occurred was a couple of people had complained. Well, quite a few people had been complaining about Alfred being absolutely abusive, rude, insulting, defamation of their characters. And there were a couple of meetings that I organized for Alfred, and he had got really upset with people and shouted at people, screamed at them in the meetings. And so the people that I organized the meeting contact me. I wasn't at the meeting on those occasions, but I have been there. I was there with allegedly Dave when he screamed his head off at him on the live broadcast. And I was so embarrassed, Ramola. I didn't know what to do. I was like, I don't know what to do. I was like, is this supposed to be a joke or what's happening here? And, you know, at one point I covered my face and I turned the camera off. I mean, I laughed and then I thought, oh God, what am I, you know, it was really uncomfortable for me. Anyway, I had got a couple of messages from people saying, Seven, Alfred lost it. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. He doesn't even care. I'm apologizing for him. And I just explained, he's got a lot of stress. You know, do you know how much work he does? You know, but there's only so much apologizing you can do before you recognize there is a problem. Now, fast forward into what created this investigation. Oh, well, the emails were there and I was looking at them and trying to figure out how do I deal with them, because as I said, I am accountable. I have a duty of care. If other people are not accountable, that's not my problem. If they refuse to take liability and responsibility for their actions, I can only be responsible for my own actions. And I will not allow people to be abused on my watch. I just can't have it, Ramola. It's just not who I am.
Yeah, that's great.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, and so basically, on the 13th of April, no, actually, in March, there was a murder plot against me. I was still in the domestic violence refuge, and I was transitioning to leave anyway, but there was some strange activities that were going on in the place, and I knew it was a red flag. Anyway, I won't go into too much details. Perhaps I'll talk about that on another day. But there was a murder plot against me, and I
So
had,
this is all connected to the kind of targeting that you have experienced ever since you sued those very powerful corporations, right?
yeah, I mean, it's all an extension from a
Yeah.
case that I fought and won for my stolen intellectual property and for my famous shows, Dancing with Stars, You Are What You Eat, 10 Years Younger. It's a massive catalogue whereby lots of people are living off my IP estate.
Yeah,
And
I
the
wanted to,
entertainment industry, sorry.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I wanted to actually bring that up so people know that there is a real history here. And I think many people understand right now that we are indeed dealing with a kind of power structure or cabal that is against the ordinary people and targets them, you know, in many, many, many different horrific ways. And you have experienced that.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody knows when you go up against these people, they try to crush you because they
Yeah.
don't like to be, they like to be able to do whatever they want to whoever they want, and they're not used to people standing up and saying no. And this is what's going on in this situation. It's the same hallmarks. These particular people have been infiltrating my life for since I won my case, ever since it's been going on repetitively, you know, and they find the weak people, the people that can be compromised in one way or another, and before you know it, they turn that person against you. You know, whether it is by they pay them or they give them some sort of reward or whatever it is, but these people get compromised. It happened with my relationship with my ex and two of my friends. They were compromised, which resulted in my cousin losing his life in 2019. And so I'm no stranger to these kind of activities. So when you, and you know this, when you set up the investigation team, your thing was brought down by infiltration. It happens
From the
every single
beginning.
time.
Yes, it happens
Sorry?
everywhere, and it happens everywhere. And I just said from the beginning. Clearly, there were sleeper agents in our midst that I had no idea about from the beginning. This is Techno Crime Fighters Forum for those people who are familiar with this group that I was a part of for about 1.5 years, I think, is as long as it lasted, about 18 months, March 2017 to July 2018. So, and indeed, you know, people know the whole story and they can go to my website and see what transpired over there and see people who started to turn against me as well after that. So I'm very familiar with people that you form a group with very sincere intentions and hopes from the beginning, suddenly turning against you, and in fact, taking pains to spend a lot of time and energy engaging in outright lies, blatant misinformation, defamation, slander. And, the people involved in my case are still at it and have been at it for a long time. So it took me, I spent a long time rebutting their smears and putting out the truth. So I think a lot of people understand now what really went on. And interestingly, Alfred was part of that. He supported the people who infiltrated. And, I think you know the story there, right? He supported those who engaged in defamation and slander. And that's Dr. Catherine Horton and Karen Melton Stewart.
Wow. Well, he's supporting the people that are doing it to me now. And it is shocking to me because he was my favorite person in the world. It's come as a shock to everybody. I mean, the number of lies. I mean, the thing is, it had been going on since January of 20. Well, if we put in the fact that Sally El-Khoury was taken out in November, then there's Magnus who's brought in December, and Lena's gone. Then January, Rebello is gone. I mean, this systematic. Then it's Ingrid Cassel, and there's a whole load of judges being picked off one after the other, and they've been slandered and removed just by email. There's no discussion, there's no internal inquiry, there's no investigation. This is a tribunal that's supposed to be functioning as a law tool to to stop the bad guys, and it's being used to maliciously slander people. I'm like, what is going on here?
So do you feel it was beginning to disintegrate from the inside, as many activist groups tend to disintegrate from the inside thanks to infiltration?
I mean, I was trying tooth and nail to fight for this thing, but people flagged up to me, and there were lots of judges that were not turning up anymore, and I was trying to motivate people, come on, we got to do this, and I was keeping everything going. Alfred was saying that 7 judges are not turning up, and I'm like, okay, don't worry, and I'm like going hard and inspiring people and trying to keep the momentum going and we're expanding rapidly because I'm in all of these places and people can vouch for me. They know I'm of the people, for the people, by the people. I mean, I fight for the people, and people could vouch for me because they know integrity when they see them, and they know the spirit of truth is a frequency, Ramola. Whatever they say about you, the reality is truth is a frequency,
Thank you, Seven. I lay my hope in that. I know what the truth is. I've put the truth out there, and I have no worries about how I am seen. There are people who have attacked me hugely, and it comes with the territory. When you are sticking your head out, and you are standing on the front lines, and you are speaking up, literally for others. I'm doing this not just for myself, but for everybody who is wrongfully targeted, everybody who is out there suffering from wrongful situations like forced vaccines, forced masks, all this stuff. So obviously, you're working for humanity. And, your field is law, my field is media. So I've been doing this for a long time. Yeah, and when you do that, when you are out there on the front lines, you get attacked. And I have certainly experienced that.
Yeah, you do get attacked wrongfully, and you are wrongfully attacked. I mean, for the amount of work that you do selflessly for people, it's wrong. It's wrong. We're passionate about what we do, and I am passionate about the truth. I am passionate about wrong, but I'm, sometimes when you're a person, people take kindness for weakness. I'm always respectful to people. I always, talk to people with respect. I'm there plugging all these people, plugging Rima, and behind the scenes, she's like creating all these lies. Anyway, here's the thing. So what goes on? By March, Alfred is having conversations with Rima. They're organizing to remove me. Okay.
How did you find out about it?
Well, I get told in a meeting with a IACO, which is it stands for, well, it's an organization that is supposed to be against crimes against humanity and corrupt organizations. And so there is this meeting that is set up for these lawyers to join forces. I bring in other organizations to join forces with us as well. Stand for Thee, which is a Canadian organization. And so anyway, and also, yeah, and Garvey Village. I brought in a lot of different other people, Stop the Silence. There was a lot of people that I'm connected to that joined forces automatically with the tribunal, you know, across the world, really. And by March, there was a murder plot against me, and I had to flee for my life. There were all these electricians showing up to the domestic violence refuge, and I don't want to go too deeply into it, but it was definitely a murder plot. Anyway, I knew I had to flee. So I said to Alfred, look, I'm in a situation. I needed to go anyway because I had been there for a year by that time. I fled another kind of plot against me in February 2020. And basically by February 2021, because of the lockdown, everything shut down. So what should have happened, court cases and, you know, all the stuff that
The
had happened
courts
to
were
me,
shut
my
down.
ex,
Yeah.
everything was shut down. So I couldn't proceed with taking action against my ex. What happened to my cousin being poisoned and murdered? You know, I had all these cases going on, and basically everything got frozen. And so in that time, I just went hard to create this tribunal because I knew essentially anybody who's in a situation in anywhere in the world, whether it's corona or whatever, because I consider corona to be domestic terrorism. The whole
Oh, it
Sharona
absolutely
situation
is. The whole thing, the whole fraud and scam of it.
it's a domestic terrorism. People are not framed to think of it that way, but that's exactly what it is. And you know, the prospect,
State-sponsored.
state-sponsored, and you know, the dangers I could see that were coming. It's an extension of the whole false flag arm, you know, but it's just got a different face. It's marketed in a different way, and
Absolutely.
you know, and it is people basically voluntarily going to their own demise because of manipulation and coercion and deception and, you know, lies.
Lies.
And so somebody like me was always going to be picked off as a head of the tribunal. I was always going to be targeted to be removed. You know, I knew that, but I thought Alfred was smart enough to recognize that and protect what we had. You know, we had an amazing thing going, and we brought all these people on that platform, and now they're trying to deny that I'm the co-founder. You know, you
Well,
actually told me that.
well, just because I have seen some of the emails from Alfred that passed across my desktop and had me as part of the, you know, receiving list or the blind carbon copy or whatever it was. And, you know, I read a few of those emails, and certainly he was challenging your existence as co-founder. And I think he was putting out an account or a narrative that you were
Different from,
a judge on the tribunal rather than the co-founder of the tribunal.
yeah, well, the truth is the truth, unfortunately for Alfred
The
and
truth
anybody
is the
else.
truth.
The truth is the truth, and there's a lot of evidence to say. In fact, the first hearing, he announces me as the co-founder. So it's interesting that now there's a kind of, because there's been a lot of abuse about me and there's a lot of people complaining, how do you do that to somebody that's the co-founder? And so there's a little bit of backpedaling, or a lot of backpedaling going on, so that there's no accountability for the wrongs that have taken place. So basically, while I'm sort of escaping a murder plot, Alfred is organizing to create this new division. And so I'm told about it after the fact. We have now a new executive administration team. Like, excuse me? What do you mean? So behind my back, he creates that with Rima. And Rima goes hammer and tongs to have me removed, along with Michael Zazio. These people are nothing to do with law. Basically, every single instance whereby people were being removed, Rima was in the center of it. And I wouldn't be surprised if she's telling him to tell people that I was not the co-founder, because it doesn't look good how they have tried to remove the co-founder. To me, it's actually a blessing in disguise, you know, because I'm the co-founder. I can create it again and again and again and again and again.
Which is what you're doing right now. You've started a new tribunal.
Exactly. And I tell you what, there won't be any of this malarkey going on, you know, which unfortunately Alfred is allowing. It's just unbelievable to me that he's allowing this to go on, and he's allowing these people to abuse other people, and he's endorsing it. And I'm like, Alfred, I said, Alfred, be careful. I'm trying to warn him, because deep state, they will use you and then they will remove you as well. He needs to be careful for himself, because these people are evil. We know what they're capable of. You know, we know what the deep state does. So I returned to find out that Alfred has created this thing. Alfred has created a GoFundMe fundraiser to help me in the emergency situation.
Was that prior to this new administration being formed? The GoFundMe?
Probably, yes, probably. And well, it was basically 26th of February. I have records, and probably a little bit before. Now, the administration team was in the works in February, and I was
But you hadn't heard about it. You were told about it later.
Not until the 2nd of March. So the 2nd of March, it was already done. So obviously it was being created in February, because it was the 2nd day of March when I knew about it, and it would already been, you know. And so basically what this effectively done is to insulate Alfred, isolate him, insulate him, and remove all the decision-making process from any other judge. So basically they were handlers. They had isolated him from everybody, and they basically superseded my position as the founder.
So nobody discussed anything with you as to let's remove this judge or that judge or whatever.
So as you can see from the evidence, from the 26th of March in 2020, I busted my ass to create this thing. There's video after video after video after video I could show you. And they are in the actual, they're actually in the document, which I'm going to show you now.
Well, we should post the links below this video so other people can check this out, you know, and also send people to your Brighteon website as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, you can go on to the Law Tribunal, .hns.to. So that's Law Tribunal. H for happy, N for November, S for sugar, .to. So Law Tribunal .hns.to. That's the website of the investigation, where you can see the investigation, and it will be obviously where you can stay up to date with what's happening at the moment. What I had to do was well, a number of us came together after the abuse with me and other judges. So Alfred had, on the 13th of April, Alfred asked me, in the wake of the St. Vincent crisis, in the island of St. Vincent in the Caribbean, there was a volcano.
Terrible volcano eruption.
Yes, eruption. Some people say it's HAARP technology.
Oh, right.
We don't know. Yeah. Anyway, they said that people had to take a mandatory vaccine if they were to be rescued. So as a tribunal, we said, okay, great, we'll step in and we'll send, because they're part of the treaty. St. Vincent and the Grenadines are on this treaty, which is who's sworn by the International Criminal Code. And so they are in violation to say that to anybody if people do not take a mandatory jab. We shouldn't even call it vaccine.
I know, horrifying to see the news there.
Yes. So basically, people were told if they don't take the jab in the shelters and what have you, they will be they won't be
rescued, right?
They won't be rescued, and they can't go into a shelter and all of this stuff. So as a tribunal, we said, okay, we're gonna try and help these people. So Alfred asks me to go in and actually help. He asked me to go in and reach out to some people from St. Vincent. Now, the only person that I knew would be doing something was Kemit Imani. Now, Kemit Imani initially was a tribunal judge as well, because Alfred had asked for her personally to be a tribunal judge. She was seated with us on the 15th, but she ended up, because she had too much on, she couldn't continue as a judge, but she did attend as a tribunal judge in the very beginning on the 15th of November, which Alfred has since denied ever happened. So I don't know if it's a memory thing. I don't know. I honestly don't know, because he's saying some, like, if you're saying he's saying that I wasn't the founder, it could be a memory thing, because the evidence is clearly there to show that I'm the founder. Anyway, so Kemit, I reached out to Kemit and I said, do you know anybody in St. Vincent that will speak? She was doing a relief effort, and she'd put together 70 barrels of food, clothing, and I just got told yesterday or the day before that they've arrived in St. Vincent. 70 barrels.
Wow.
This amazing woman put together.
That's
as a
fabulous.
relief effort. Babies' nappies. I mean, anything anybody would need, she sent it out there. She got it shipped out there to the people. That's the kind of amazing woman she is. Anyway, transpires that her mother and her sister are in St. Vincent, and they're part of amongst the people who are in this crisis, right? So she said to me, the people in St. Vincent, they're not very outspoken. They're not very they're a bit, not necessarily subservient, but they don't necessarily go against the grain. But she said,
it sounds like the people around the world right now.
True. But anyway, she did say there was one young man who was very vocal. She sent me his video, and it had been removed from Facebook. So via the title and meta tags, I traced him. And I sent him a message. I said, hey, brother, I'm from a tribunal and we want to help you. And so he basically said, thank you, and I said, are you around to meet in 30 minutes, 40 minutes? He said, sure. So I contacted Rima, Alfred, and I sent them a message because Alfred asked me to set up this meeting. So I contacted them. Anyway, I managed to galvanize quite a few people. Within 40 minutes to an hour, I managed to have a panel full of people in Zoom to address this crisis meeting. And so, cut a long story short, Alfred does an announcement about the tribunal taking out Prince Philip. In other words, the tribunal being responsible for Prince Philip's death, because the indictments were served on the 25th of January. Alfred sent indictments to the royal family. And basically, shortly after, Prince Philip went into hospital and subsequently died, right? So Alfred was telling this story, and he had told this story in a number of meetings. And so Kemit said, he could have died of old age. He was in his 90s. It's not necessary that. And I understood why Alfred said that, because it was something that he it was a personal triumph for him. He felt that way.
He wanted to take credit for delivering a shock to the royal family.
Yeah, that's what he said. So Kermit said, well, he could have died anyhow. That was like a trigger to Alfred. He kicked off. And first of all, the meeting was not about how Prince Philip died. It was about St. Vincent. And she was the victim whose family were there. And he didn't have any sensitivity to the fact that her family were there. And so I was a little bit concerned because he was shouting at her in the meeting, and they were back and forth. And he, eventually it got really heated, and she felt very insulted. And I feel like it was unfair of Alfred, considering her family were in a crisis. She was dealing with a crisis. And
so do you feel he kind of hijacked that meeting?
Well, he pulled the plug on it. He argued with her and then pulled the plug on it, and all the people were gone. Poof, gone. Anyway, afterwards, I received the message saying, Seven, you're removed as a tribunal judge. I was like, for bad behavior to authority.
What?
Repeated bad behavior to authority. I'll show you. Repeated bad behavior to authority.
He's the authority?
I'm the authority. I'm the founder. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
What is going on here? And so I read this, and because when he pulled the plug, and I thought, oh my God, and then the tribesman that I managed to get, Tonic Man, he basically said, what happened, Seven? Where's everybody gone? And I was like, oh my God. So I ended up interviewing him, and I posted it on Brighteon because I thought, okay, I'll salvage something. When I went to send it to the tribunal judges, there was this message, Seven, you are removed. Thank you for your services. Goodbye. I was like,
wow.
huh? I didn't argue. He argued with Kemet Imani, not me. I didn't argue with anybody. He pulled the meeting. So this was like, like in the olden days, they used to do something called whipping boy and whipping girl. When you do something wrong, you get a black person to be your whipping boy. So basically, so you'd have somebody as a slave. I don't necessarily, sometimes maybe they used to have poor people or whatever, but it was used for black people, called whipping boy. And so basically you do something wrong. And so what you do is you get the nigger and you whip them for your bad behavior. This was like this. I was looking at this like I was not involved in
major
anything.
projection.
Major projection. So basically, Kemet calls up Galactic Clyde, who's also a tribunal judge, and he was in the meeting whereby Alfred asked me to set up this meeting. He was there on the 13th. This particular meeting where the argument took place was, excuse me, it was on the 14th. 13th, Alfred asked me to set it up. 14th, the meeting takes place. 14th, he sends me this message afterwards to me saying you're removed. Then basically Kemet calls Clyde, the one I said he's a peacemaker, if anybody. And so he calls me and says, Kemet has called me up really upset that Alfred has insulted her. Seven, what happened? So I explained. Well, Alfred got upset because of Prince Philip. Kemet didn't agree with him, So basically he says, okay, I'm going to organize a meeting for everybody to come together, to sit down together. These are significant because what later happened was all of this was turned into Seven organized a meeting for all her friends, which was in violation of the tribunal. I didn't know anybody. I knew Kemet there. I didn't know anybody else. He actually put out a message, an email, mailed it all over the place saying Seven has organized the meeting. He asked me to organize the meeting. I didn't organize the meeting for me.
And didn't it include everybody in the tribunal anyway, whom all of you probably by this point knew?
there was
You all
another
knew each other.
people in the tribunal, from the tribunal, but there were also Kemet and other people were there.
Oh, I see.
They were not, the tribesman was there. I didn't know this tribesman. So basically, people started like, what the hell is going on here? Why is 7 being removed? What's going on? So then he sends Kemet a message. Kemet writes an email, which is in the document I'm about to show you, the final judgment and order after the investigation. Kemet writes that Alfred basically insulted her, shouted at her. He went from 0 to 100 within a split second. She writes a whole thing about what had transpired. And I read it, and it's the truth. I apologized to her. Again, I said, I'm really sorry. And I said, Alfred owes us an apology this time. Alfred responds, he doesn't mention anything Kemet says, doesn't apologize, doesn't reference anything she says, nothing. Instead, what he does is sends a message saying that I could be the tribunal's publicist with the indigenous tribesman called Tonic Man. A man I'd never met before in my life, who's in a volcano erupted island of St. Vincent, can be the tribunal's publicity. I'm reading this like, what is this? This is equivalent to being the CEO of a company and saying, you can go to the basement and put images in the window so that people can find out about us. Go along, go along, go along, nigger. Shoo, shoo, go. I mean, I'm going to show you this.
And you felt there was a racist element to this.
Absolutely racist.
Yeah.
Absolutely racist. A man who is from an indigenous island that you don't know from Adam can do your publicity. Come on, Ramola. I'm the founder of the tribunal. That's why they're trying to backpedal that I'm not the founder. I am the founder. And I've spoken to like I was the kitchen cleaner. I could not believe it. Then I started looking at things. Alfred put my name at the bottom on the list. I thought, why didn't he put my name? He knows I'm the founder. It's exploitation, Ramola.
So you feel you were sort of targeted on the tribunal by your fellow judges, or, in fact, your co-founder.
Well, basically what happened was systematically people were being picked off and they wanted to remove me. They didn't have a mechanism to remove me. So
various people were being targeted. Yeah.
Yes. But they had a specific type of targeting for me because they Alfred opens this fundraiser for me, gathers all this money. In April, he tells me there's $3,000 in there. I don't get 1 penny of it, Ramola. So I'm also being used as a cash cow. I'm being used to raise money. And
people had donated, but you'd never received the donations, right?
Not 1 penny. Ramola, and I want to show you because I need to show people this so that we have an accurate. I know we don't have a lot of time.
Yeah, we don't have too much time, so perhaps you want to show us your document and tell us, some of the final outcomes. Yeah.
Yes. So basically, Galactic Clyde organizes a meeting for everybody to attend. Basically, he's removed as a judge for organizing a meeting to find out what happened. And then that's twisted that 7 did it. A message is sent around the world. 7 has set up this meeting. He received a copy of the email and everybody got a copy. But instead of saying Galactic Clyde organized this meeting, which was out of order, it was 7 did it. So then I started to be the focus of people were doing that over there. At this point, I'm offline. I'm not involved in anything. And people are ringing me saying, 7, he's got your name that you've done this, that. It's a whole gang stalking, gaslighting, smear campaign situation. And Alfred is endorsing it. I'm like, oh my God. And then tribunal judges write to Alfred. Alfred, 7 was not involved. I did that. 7 was actually singing your praises. And he twists that around. 7 did this, not even 7. Charlie 7.
Charles 7, I think, is what he
Yeah,
calls you.
yeah,
Mhm.
Charles 7. Because I put the judge lady 7. So he removes the lady and the judge, and he puts Charles 7 in order to kind of like undermine me.
Oh,
It is a
wow. That's really interesting because you
yeah.
chose the name Lady 7, right? So,
Well, I didn't choose it actually. It was given to me by a sovereign. I have a sovereign certificate. I'll show you quickly because it's actually here. Have I never showed it to you?
mm-mm,
It was a
haven't
while back.
seen it.
I never used to use it, but then it, you know, a while, some certificate of sovereignty. Can you see that?
I do. Yeah, I see it now.
They won't be able to see it, will they? Oh, I don't know. Anyway, it says Lady 7, a certificate of sovereignty. I got it actually in 2017. And I basically, because of my work fighting corruption, one day, I think it's because I've been treated so badly. I've done so much work, and they wanted to say, we recognize what you've done. And I really appreciated it. It's the first time anybody's really recognized some of the work. It's a bit like your writing you got on your awards. You've been recognized of what you do. And this is mine, you know. So I don't really use it.
Wonderful.
Occasionally I use it, especially when people try to talk down to me like I'm a piece of trash. Then the lady, you will call me lady. You see. Anyway, so it starts kicking off. And they're basically, I realize it's a whole campaign is being engineered to tarnish me deliberately, to defame me, to tarnish me. And it is systematic to a pattern. So Galactic Klein organizes a meeting to gather everybody to get to the root of all this. Rima sends all the judges a message to dissuade them from going, saying we've got too much important work to do, because she knew she would be exposed in that meeting. He's immediately removed. John and Bonnie, a couple of judges, they're a couple from Uruguay, amazing couple. They created the tribunal's logo. Because they attended the peace and resolution meeting, they were removed. Can you imagine? A tribunal is removing judges that attended a peace and resolution to deal with, to address the abuse and corruption. They remove judges for organizing it and for attending it. That's what we have going on. So let me just show you now. I'm going to take you to the website for everybody to see, anybody who's not aware. Let's see, I can show you. I'm not sure how to go onto the page. Okay, that's the email. Wait a minute. I can't seem to, because you got this banner at the top, I can't see.
I see. Can you pull it down?
Yeah,
It looks different on my screen, you know.
No, I have to do this, Ramola, because I can't seem to get in there. All right, so let me do it like this. I have to go this way. I have to go, sorry everyone, but because of the GoFundMe situation, it's in.
Is it any better? Can you see better now?
Let me come out and go in again. Wait a minute, I can't seem to go. I need to just open it up. Just open it up first, because there's a panel at the side, Ramola, whereby you can't get to the links.
I see.
On this,
can you minimize it or do something to move it out of the way?
I have it open now so we can see it.
You're not sharing. Oh, there
Okay,
you
so
are. You're sharing screen.
Yeah, I'm sharing the screen. So basically, on the 14th of June this year, a investigation was concluded and into the corruption. And if you go on to this website, which is lawtribunal.h for happy, n for November, s for sugar law.tribunal.to, law tribunal lawtribunal.hns.to, then you'll come to this page. All right.
Okay.
So this is basically outcome of the investigation. So judgment and order issued to Natural and Common Law Tribunal for Corruption. And so it says tribunal co-founder, there's me, exposes corruption, and it's an urgent public announcement. All right. And so what we have here is final judgment. You see Natural and Common Law Tribunal for Public Health and Justice, International Tribunal, 14th of June 2021, and I'm the co-founder, and I'm supporting mistreated, abused tribunal judges. And obviously, unfortunately, it is how do we go down? I don't know how to, because of this here, it doesn't allow you to shrink it, Ramola. Maybe I can do it.
It looks like I can do it, so I did it.
All right, I think I've done it now. So
Okay.
let me just read you the first paragraph, then you'll get an idea. This is the final judgment in the investigation and examination of evidence from 13 tribunal judges and 5 other complainants regarding the gross mistreatment and abuse of multiple tribunal judges from the Natural and Common Law Tribunal of Public Health and Justice, all summarized. Now, basically, this is a brief summary. Now, however, if you want to go to the detailed section of this judgment, highlighted it in red is basically the statements of multiple witnesses. Okay. Now, this is a statement from Lena Poo on the 4th of December 2020. Remember, I told you she was the first one to flag up some problems. And I will read to you what Lena said. Just a bit. I'm not going to read everybody, but I'll give people an idea what they can find within this particular document. It says, Alfred, I'm not sure what the intent is in finding a TI or post-TI, but whatever the case, this is not reflecting the kind of character and judge I want to be associated with. Did you even vet him before choosing him? Now, this is a situation where Alfred has taken on a judge called Magnus Olsson. There's been no due diligence. And I understood at the time, Alfred has known Magnus Olsson and worked alongside him for a very, very long time, many, many years. And so, however, Lena is saying, and she's rightfully saying, you know, you've introduced somebody into the tribunal and there's no protocol. You haven't notified anybody. There's not been any really checking. So she did some checking and she found naked women on Magnus's page. So this is a dialogue in regards to that before she was forced to leave. It says, Alfred, I'm not sure what the intent is finding a TI or a post-TI, but whatever the case is, this is not reflecting the kind of character and judge I want to be associated with. Did you even vet him before choosing? The U2 icon on his website is of a naked woman, which led me to check on his YouTube channel, which is filled with only pictures of naked women or near naked women as a hoarder's fest. He's not interested in saving mankind. Did you even vet him out at all? Even if he removes the photo, his character already raises flags for anyone who wishes to move ahead. Sorry, let me just move this along so that I can smooth this. All right. Yeah, so she says, Even if he removes the photos, his character already raises flags for anyone who wishes to move ahead with this group, tackling the most serious world issues such as human and sex trafficking, sex slaves, child abuse, pornography, child sacrifice, etc., etc. All of our actions acting as judges especially requires all those character traits without question, the highest moral level of character, intentions, and willpower and purity. So basically, she also flags up that he works for the UN. So that's Lena, and basically she ended up resigning because Alfred would not remove Magnus once he'd enrolled him. Now this is Leo Ribello, who was the judge. Now this is on the 6th of February. So he says his final say on corrupt Alfred Labamont Weber for his Rima Leibau's removal. Now, this instance was Dr. Leo Ribello, who's in India, had written a report that he was trying to have included on the tribunal's evidence, which was being censored and blocked by Rima, according to him. So basically, Alfred was protecting Rima, even though Rima was wrongfully stopping this man from being able to submit his evidence into the tribunal. Why was that happening? Can you still hear me, Ramola?
I can. I'm just listening to you. So
okay,
go ahead.
Okay. Just checking in. And so anyway, I'm going to try to be succinct and just whiz through this, just to give you all a bit of a picture of what has transpired and in terms of the investigation, so that you can look for yourself. So he says, attention, and this is all verbatim, it's Exhibit C1. Final say on corrupt Alfred Labamont Weber for his and Rima Leibau's removal. Attention, all ye good judges in this group, do stand up and right the wrong. Remove Alfred as founder judge and Rima Leibau for manipulations, corrupt practices, falsifying records and dictatorship. If necessary, for those who think this man should be prosecuted by the appropriate authorities in Toronto may do so before further damage is done by this dope. Okay. Anyway, basically, his whole argument was that he's allowing Rima to block people's evidence from being submitted into the tribunal, which is wrong. If he's a tribunal judge, everybody should be able to submit evidence and it be included, you see. So anyway, I was told that this man was mentally challenged. And that's, when you read it, you'll get to that point. Paragraph, let me show you what paragraph where I reference, where you can see the reference. Mentally challenged, had mental issues. And this is a thing that's being said about many people that are honorable in order to justify abusing them, defaming them, and removing them, and it's wrong. So this man was told, I was told that this man, Dr. Leo Ribello from India, was mentally challenged, and then the evidence shows that all of these people herald this man as a being amazing. He says, this is John Hall writing to Leo Ribello, and he says, thank you for your, dear Leo, thank you for your love, your vast knowledge, your hard work, bravery. You know, I mean, all of the references are from John Hall. I'm just going to read a few just so that you get an idea that far from being considered an idiot or somebody who's mentally challenged, he says here, dear Leo, your writings are brilliant, cover everything so thoroughly. Well done, thank you. So that's another one. And this is another tribunal judge. Now, this tribunal judge called Betty is actually trying to help Leo. And she's flagging up that he's being censored. So she says, this is what Betty wrote to me in regards to Leo's reports in regards to the whole Sharona situation being censored. Now, remember, this is in a climate where somebody has just been killed to stop her testifying, possibly. So now we have this man who's saying he's being censored. So this Judge Betty, who deals with the aspartame, she says, I sent it to Alfred in terms of the document he was trying to get submitted as evidence. Betty, who's read it and sees that it's brilliant, says, I sent it to Alfred in Canada and they censored it. You know, didn't like what I was saying. If I have to mail it to everyone on this list, I will. Somebody has got to stop these demons. They are trying to stop everything you say. Let me know if you get it, and I'll send it to some others. So this is another tribunal judge talking to Leo in regards to his being censored. So now we see a whole completely different picture is emerging. It is not that this man is mentally challenged, as I was informed, but in reality is that he's being censored because he's got information that the tribunal is censoring. And he's saying it's being censored on behalf of Rima Leibau. That's what he's saying. So let's move on to another judge. Now, I actually asked him, in terms of the investigation, I asked Leo, and, you know, why was you removed, Leo, in your opinion? He says, it is Alfred and his girlfriend. Emphasis on girlfriend. Rima Leibau, a rich widow who was trying to hook me by flaunting her big boobs, who ganged up to remove me. So that's what he says, okay? He's saying that this woman is, and him and Alfred is an item. So I asked him again, are you suggesting that Alfred and Rima have something going on in a relationship capacity? I'm in the red, he's in the blue. Judge Lady 7, JLS, Dr. Leo ELR, appears so. So I said, exactly as you say, we have also been removed on behalf of Rima, who is most definitely behind all the unjust removal of judges. So he says, so it's obvious they were cahoot in bed. It's quite interesting. You should watch this.
Yeah. Wow, this sounds like a novel. So is this like a conflict of interest issue or unfair advantage issue or something like that?
Well, it's a bit like, you know, I mean, seems to be that she's been requesting to get rid of people systematically one after the other. So it says here, damning email statement of Tribunal Judge Ingrid Cassell to Tribunal Judge Leo Ribello. Dear Leo, you should probably know I am no longer involved with the tribunal. I am sorry for involving you since it proved to be a problem with Alfred acting as a dictator and making decisions without consulting with the other judges, no conflict resolution attempted, and eliminating people without due process. So we have a situation that is transpiring, that is emerging. Alfred is literally, he's one after the other, he's removing these people, no due process. She says again, this is another email from Ingrid. Dear Alfred et al. While I missed the last call due to my own schedule conflicting, there are a few items that I have come up that I find disturbing. First, decisions are being made by you and then the rest of our tribunal is strong-armed into accepting your decision. I believe this started with Leo Ribello and has been a pattern since then. By the way, I reviewed all the early emails between Rima and Leo and found Leo not to be unhinged at the time because, as I said he was mentally unstable. We all know that Jewish Zionism with their rogue country of Israel and the home of the banking cabal is a problem. Being Jewish, as Rima is, has nothing to do with calling out Jewish Zionism. She's either a Zionist or she's not. The problem, there was no open court via Zoom among our judges for both Rima and Leo to state their case, and for all judges to make a clear decision regarding the resolution. So basically, what she's talking about here is exactly what I'm saying. People are being eliminated. There's no discussion with any other judge. Systematically being defamed, lied about, and removed. And this has been a pattern going on. And it is something I cannot put my name to. It's completely unethical and it is unjust. Now, this is the email after Alfred argues with Kemet Imani on the 14th of April. I reflected for you the repeated pattern of unacceptable, unproductive, negative behaviors, undermining authority. You are terminated. You are hereby irrevocably terminated as a tribunal judge on the Natural and Common Law Tribunal for Public Health and Justice.
Irrevocably.
Sorry?
Irrevocably terminated.
Yes.
You can't appeal.
This? 14th. This is on the 14th. Watch what he says. Is it the 15th? Same. He says that unproductive. Blah blah blah. But watch what he says now. This is like a day later. Okay, this is exhibit F1 from Emmett Imani. It's a letter, email in regards to Alfred's abuse to her. Okay, so you can have a read of this and see what Emmett says. You'll see that it was Alfred was arguing. I didn't argue with anybody. Just received that email. So basically, by this time, he has created this team, which is run by Rima. Watch what he says here. Kemet writes him a whole email, which you'll see in F1, and Alfred doesn't respond to not one single word of it. He doesn't apologize to her for shouting at her. He says absolutely nothing. Instead, his email is focused on me. He says, I'm writing after consulting Rima and on the administrative committee of the tribunal. He says, look, I'm a superb networker.
No, right. I remember reading this email earlier. Yeah.
But he just said that I was unproductive, didn't he? He said that repeated unproductive. But now he says I'm a superb networker. So now he also says that me and the tribesman, I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but I just want to give you an idea of the irrational, unstable behavior and absolutely ludicrous. This man, after working with me alone for 1 year, has met some people, Dr. Rima and Michael, wealthy people, and has decided, I'm no good anymore. Let me get rid of her and move these people into her place. That's exactly what he's done. Now, because he looks bad, he's telling me the tribunal looks forward to working with Seven and the chief tonic man in their capacity as publicists, as sovereign leader and common law witness. They don't know this man at all.
No, and also it appears that Alfred is sort of unilaterally handing you a new position without your own interest in it, right? Without discussing the matter or whatever. It's kind of a handoff. And
he removed me. He said, I'm removed.
Oh, boy, yeah, tangled web. Sort of really messy situation, Seven. I'm really sorry that this has been happened on it. Yeah.
Yes, it's a very messy situation. I'm really sorry, but I just feel there's an importance. I'm going to read a couple bits of more and then I'll sign off, Ramola, so that we can.
Yeah, this is pretty long. But I think you've definitely proved that a lot of the other judges found the situation completely unprofessional and unacceptable, and they spoke out about it to Alfred.
Yes, I mean, basically, people were being systematically defamed and removed. And it wasn't just tribunal judges who were being removed. It was being insulted. It was people outside of it, unfortunately, as well, which has made us very concerned about Alfred's well-being. You know, because we've received email, and I'll give you an example of an email that we received from somebody outside of the tribunal who was basically saying that he has, well, let me read it. I don't want to say what it is and what it isn't. I just give it you a little touch of it. I'm just trying to fast forward. It's just that this thing is in the way. Let me see if I can move it over here. Aha, I've managed to move it. So this will make it a little bit easier to move things around. Just give me 1 second, Ramola. Okay, this is the email. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but this is a man called John Christina. Email evidence is copied verbatim, and it's I1, Exhibit I1. And he says, Alfred Lamont Webber's defamation and angry man actions with attachment on proposed Tribunal of Conscience. So this man says, dear Tribunal judges, this email to politely decline the invitation to be a tribunal judge on Alfred Lamont Webber's Alfred Tribunal of Conscience that he offered me the opportunity when he was invited to be a guest on with the European Coalition Task Force, ECTF. Alfred invited me to make a presentation to judges listed on here. On the email is on the 26th of February the 26th, 21. Alfred invited me again 1 week later on the 29th of March 2021. I politely and professionally declined. Alfred Webber then responded by attacking me and defaming me, calling me mind-controlled and part of deep state, all because I declined. I am notifying you because of my experience with Alfred Webber last week. I believe he will lie to you and libel me. Then you might libel me based on Alfred's defamation. It is not a defense to repeat defamation, even if you believe it. And that is classic. So I want us one more thing, and then we're going to sign off from this, Ramola. But that gives you a picture of what has been happening to all of us. Now, John and Bonnie were removed for attending a peaceful resolution meeting. And then a month after being removed, Alfred sends a message to ask them for their resignation, but they've already been removed. All of us had already been removed.
Oh, wow.
So John and Bonnie write the following. Let me read this to you because this is probably the most damning of all the testimonies. If you would have stopped at your resignation from the tribunal is accepted and recorded, you would have done yourself a favor of for once being professional and not proving that everything I wrote about you is correct. So, Mr. Rubber, I'm rubber and your glue, and your maturity of a 9-year-old child. Be well and hopefully a lot less of a weirdo in the future. How these people stay on your coattail is beyond me. There has been one judge who has time and time again shown every single person reading this email his hate, and that guy is you, Alfred. Do you not realize that we all contact each other and talk? You've left a wake of hurt people behind you, people who only wanted to help. After what you just did in your wacky turnaround reinstatement, we knew we needed to get out now because of your crazy maniac behavior, which has been witnessed by everyone reading this. More people than you realize, genius. Wanna poke me again, Prince Alfred? Now please do not contact us again. So let me read a little bit more further because it's going to give you a picture of the climate of the absolute level of abuse that people have sustained. He references some to all addressed. We have watched as good judges such as Lena Pooh, who came with her documents, ready to work were turned away in favor of an obvious womanizer who has half-naked women all over his social media and to this day has not lifted a finger to help. We were told on Skype, Alfred, that Professor Dolores Cahill, deep state operative, we should ignore her. Now I see her on the email, Judge roster. We have another well-known judge, Sasha Stone, who is a Trump proponent and seems to be eagerly awaiting Trump's return, which is Sasha's prerogative. This despite the fact that Trump is one of the tribunal's named indicted defendants. We've watched in total disbelief as Alfred took on Hadaya and the admin, both Snakes oil salespersons embroiled in a Ponzi scheme, literally attempted to get other judges to sign up for the billion coin scam. Then only one day later, he politely sends back the billion coin fake currency to Hadaya and the admin and wrote that they are both likely to be indicted. But somehow, these soon-to-be indicted con artists is still on the judge roster. So what we're seeing is a pattern, Ramola, of the honourable judges being removed systematically.
Yeah.
We see...
and there's a line over there, always, he would say they are deep state or targeted individuals with handlers. So
right.
that sort of sounds like a pattern.
That's right. They say we've watched time and time again as Alfred attacked others who do not fall lock in step with his oversized ego. Always he would say they are deep state or targeted individuals with handlers. It is clear now, if anyone has a handler and has been compromised, it is King Alfred himself. We listen to his tall tales in relation to some black pope of all, or more poppycock. Then they talk about me and they say, then he really made our heads spin when we heard that he absolutely freaked out during a Zoom call and subsequently terminated, not suspended, terminated 7. Then came his disrespectful, unwarranted, downright low-brow attack on Clyde, Bonnie, and myself. We have all the evidence we need to prove the following. We find Alfred Labamont Weber to be a manipulator of people, an egomaniac, a liar, a backstabber, and a shamelessly disrespectful man. We, Bonnie and John, cannot in good conscience have anything whatsoever to do with this so-called tribunal, which is not and has never been an actual tribunal, but rather something more like akin to a high school clique with King Alfred in charge in the tower, whereby he only listens to those who have wormed their way to the top of the tower. He says, King Alfred does not want judges. He wants cardboard cutouts of judges with springs affixed to their necks so that they continuously nod their heads in agreement.
Yeah, I think that all these judges are saying the same thing, it sounds like. And so it's not looking very good for Alfred at this point.
It's
in
not,
this document.
Unfortunately, it's not good at all. It says, we hope upon seeing 2 solid people resign that the rest of you so-called judges might step back for a moment and consider what you're really involved in with this friendless, egocentric, now obviously tyrannical founding Judge Alfred. Something has been done to him, Ramola. This is not the man I know. When you read of all, there's 70 pages in this document, but this is not the man. I read this stuff.
I know you say this is not the man you know, but it seems like a lot of these other people, did they know him before they got on the tribunal?
They said they knew him for 12 years, John and Bonnie, so they knew him a lot longer.
I see.
And so basically, you know, I'm reading this stuff and it's consistent. It's consistent, the complaints about him. And as I said to you, I was getting complaints by people over and over and over. And I was apologizing for him. And then he switched all of that abuse onto me. And he switched it onto other people. And then I saw a list of it and it was like, something has to give. I've tried to communicate with Alfred. You know, I tried to communicate with him, Alfred, this how you want to be thought of. People are complaining about you. You're hurting people. I sent him a message, Alfred, you're hurting people. You're getting a reputation, and it's got good. I can't, you know, in good conscience, it's like everybody has to let go of him until he sits down. I asked him in my last message to him, I said, sit down and actually read what people are saying, because basically what he has been doing is projecting. He's blaming everybody else, but he's not looking at himself, and he's blaming people for what he did. Now, what he does himself, and I want to show you one last thing, Ramola, before I sign out, because basically, he opened a GoFundMe, and I'm being used as a cash cow, and it's wrong, Ramola. You tell me what you think, and I want people at home to just look at this and tell me what you think about it, if this is right or if this is wrong. It's abuse, people. It's total abuse. I don't know if you can see this.
I can. It says Tribunal Judges Life Survival Needs.
Right, okay. Now, Alfred Weber is organizing this fundraiser. It says, can you see this very clearly, Ramola?
Yes, yes, I can read it.
Oh, I just made it too big. Yeah. All right, so it says, emergency GoFundMe for peaceinspace.org, Tribunal Judges Life Survival Needs. There has now arisen a need for crowdfunding for tribunal judges' survival needs. Specifically, and there's an emphasis on specifically, Tribunal Judge 7, UK, is being served a notice to vacate the domestic violence refuge where she is staying, and the Tribunal Judge 7 will be homeless and may need assistance with rent payments. Now, he's been collecting this money for me for months, and he has not given me one penny. When we asked him last, these are the emails I copied you into. First of all, you're a liar. He said, you're a liar. There's no judge, there's no funding. So I screenshot this page that I'm showing you now, and I'll show it to you again. I screen grabbed this whole thing. I had 2 screen grabs. One, the top here, judges' survival needs, and also where it says, he highlights my whole situation. He talks about me being in a domestic violence refuge and that I will be homeless. And, you know, he's playing on the heartstrings of people here to help. And this is the situation. This man has been never given me one single penny for this. And when I actually asked him to return the public's donations, he actually said that I can't read and I'm mentally impaired. You read that, because I know I sent it to you. I sent it to a number of people.
I think he called you mentally unstable, a targeted individual, all sorts of things. I'm sorry, I find that kind of thing absolutely beyond acceptability. That is so wrong.
It's abuse.
That's
Imagine,
abuse.
Ramola, if you told me you had a problem and I opened a GoFundMe page for you, and I said specifically for you, I talk about your entire situation, and then you come to me and say, you know, those donations, 7, that you've been collecting on my behalf, would it be okay if I have them now? And I say you're mentally unstable, you're irrational, and basically I slander you. Now, the interesting thing that everybody's picked up from these particular emails is the level of deflection coming from guilt.
Projection and deflection.
Projection and deflection. These are emails that when somebody knows they've done something wrong and they have been behaving in a way, they actually go way over the top and they start.
Have you published some of these emails?
Not yet. I mean, I haven't as yet. And, you know, I was kind of contemplating trying to do, because obviously after the judgment we put together, there's an order. So after in the investigation, I showed you the final judgment, and let me show you the final order as well quickly, just so that we...
It's such a pity that the focus of the tribunal has suddenly been turned so incredibly, such that it now addresses this kind of divisive infighting and disintegration.
Yeah, I mean, this is the reason why. I don't know if you can see this, Ramola, but this is an order. It's an order by basic 21st. It's an order, it's an official order after the actual investigation concluded with the evidence, and the evidence was unanimous. This is evidence from 13 tribunal judges. I mean, I'll just read you the opening paragraph. Upon examining, evaluating the evidence from live and written testimonies from 13 judges from the Natural and Common Law Tribunal, and from 5 additional witness testimonies from other people summarized within this final judgment. And so basically, it goes through all the different situations, and then it comes to the order which is, I think it's on the 20. It might be on the 23rd page, 23rd page or the 20. So you can go through all the information.
Yeah, I thought this was very well written. I did read this whole thing. Yeah. I haven't read the other document all the way through, but I did read this one.
All right, okay, so you read the order. This is there's 2 orders. So it says it's ordered that that he apologized. He apologized for slandering all these judges, including myself, apologized for the public. He's been collecting money from the public. It's not going to where the public has donated for. I mean, this is hard for me, Ramola. It's not easy because this is a man that I love. I have loved for many, many years as a father figure. However, it's a situation where you see multiple people being hurt, lied about. It could be that Alfred is crying for help. It could be that something has happened to Alfred. And so then I have a duty of care to make sure that the truth comes out so that he may be able to get help if that's what he needs. Because what is happening is that he's hurting people and he's not being accountable for the damage that he's causing all around, and that he's being taken in by some incredibly evil people. These people are evil. What they've done is evil. How do you come to a tribunal? You see that it's been founded by somebody with that person and systematically use lies. This is what Rima's done. She's used lies. She's been spreading lies from one person to the other, and it's happened in every single case. And
well,
then
this is so disturbing. It's so disturbing and unsettling to hear. You know, many people watching this probably know exactly who you're speaking about, and you know, have looked up to these people and admired them and all that. So it's unfortunate that, yeah, this is scandalous. I think this is kind of a breaking story here.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, Ramola, you know, it breaks my heart. It doesn't do me no favors, but my allegiance is not to the cult of personality. It's to the truth. It's to the truth. And the truth is, right now, Alfred may potentially be in danger with these people. These people are deep state, 100%. This is why there are lies. They're telling people I'm not the founder. Every time
have you considered, I hate to ask this, but have you considered that Alfred might be deep state himself?
Well, I've known him for 6 years, and if he was deep state, his character would have been consistent. What I'm seeing now is not the person that I've known for 6 years. Right up until we brought these people in, we had absolute harmony. We got on absolutely brilliantly. These people came into the tribunal, and you will see systematically, read Ingrid Cassel's email. Read Rebello's email. Read John and Bonnie. There's a lot of evidence I didn't put in there that was not in there. But in terms of what we gathered tons of emails. I mean, I just couldn't put it all in there. We had to collect, and you know, we did a live. We got all the judges together, and Clyde, brother Clyde Harris, Galactic Clyde, he organised a peace and resolution meeting. So we had all the judges on there, and everybody agreed this tribunal has been infiltrated. It's been infiltrated. Alfred has made one statement in one day and a completely other statement the next day. It's irrational. He said unproductive behavior to authority. I'm the co-founder.
I think that statement was about, it was suggesting that your attitude or behavior or whatever was undermining the authority and effectiveness of the tribunal. So I read that whole sentence to find out where the authority was being linked to, and he was linking it to the tribunal and suggesting that you were not helping the tribunal.
Basically, he had gone to meeting after meeting, shouting at people. And after he had shouted, you can see Kemet's email, complains that he shouted at her, had nothing whatsoever to do with me.
Oh, absolutely. I think that was a terrible thing to say to you. And of course, you know, this whole action of suddenly irrevocably terminating you after a meeting where the shouting came from him, etc. Shocking, sad, all of that.
See, the thing is, there's no accountability for what he's been doing to other people. Instead, he's been passing the responsibility of what he does to other people to me. It seems that because I didn't shout at Kemet as well, he wanted me most probably to also shout at her, and then I would have been in the good books. Because it's basically become cliquey in that way, cult-like.
I was going to say, it sounds like a sort of a cliquish moment beginning to form over there. So.
Yeah, and so, you know, Kemet is somebody, in the same way, if you were there, Ramola, and you were shouted at, I wouldn't accept it. I wouldn't sit there and just think, oh, it's okay to shout at Ramola. No, I didn't actually even say very much. And funny enough, according to Kemet, she thought I sided with Alfred. And
I have to tell you, I was at a meeting once. It was the FACG conference, I think, and I forget who exactly pulled it together, but I think it was Anais, Salas, and Sierra. I forget her last name. But I was on that conference as well, and so was Alfred. We were talking about 5G, stopping 5G, and there was a moment on that conference where Alfred took off and yelled at somebody. The rest of us were just sort of frozen while this was happening on a public webinar. So it's all captured, I think, on that conference video.
Unfortunately, in John and Bonnie's message, they said that they've got hours and hours of footage of Alfred shouting at people. And he has not addressed that. Instead, he's looked at people who haven't shouted. I haven't shouted at anybody. I wasn't involved in any of these arguments. And then when people asked him, why have you removed 7? He said she wasn't removed, she was suspended. So basically, he's told different people different things. And it's changed by the day. It's changed. Oh, she's not removed, she's suspended. Oh, she can be the publicist with the tribunals, with the tribesman. A man, he's not asked this man, would you like to be our publicist? Not at all.
Highly erratic. Erratic, irregular, and boy, there's so much going on over here. You know, obviously,
it's a mess. It's a mess.
Yeah, obviously, Seven, this is a kind of a dicey situation. This is a public conversation. You're having a public conversation with me, and you're putting this information out. And, you know, thank you for your candor and your transparency and your interest in putting the truth out there as you have experienced it and as many people have experienced it, as can be seen from the plethora of emails, which all kind of resonate with each other and are saying the same thing. It's very sad and very unfortunate. And earlier on, I remember you saying to me, I don't want to suggest, and I certainly don't want to suggest either, that you and I are ganging up here against Alfred, right? This is,
No, this is not
yeah,
what it
and
is.
you have stated that you had a great respect for this man, etc. And one of the reasons I threw out the question, do you not think that he might be deep state himself, is because of this pattern that appears to be happening in a variety of different situations. And remember, this is also how the deep state operates. It creates front operations, front media. It creates front personalities and so forth. And as you know, my own experience with Alfred has given me a certain view of him, which, I know is not your view, but has certainly colored my reading of who he is and what he's doing.
Well, I mean, I definitely know at this point he has been compromised because he's not telling the truth. He's not behaving rationally. He has hurt people and he's not accountable for it. That doesn't sound like the man that I know. I could never imagine Alfred doing something like that, just to be so flippant to people, verbally abusive to people. I'm just thinking maybe this is a cry for help from him, potentially. Because
he's been doing it a few
been...
times, though. He's been doing it a few times. I mean, he did it to me, right? After Catherine Horton, he sent me an email saying he was going to, accusing me of all sorts of things, which were absolutely untrue. So from where I sit, it appears that he supports infiltrators. He supports people who run smear campaigns. So that's somebody who is not on the side of truth. So if you're looking at truth media, I would not put him up there. But your experience has been very different, I understand. So this to you is sort of a moment of awakening for you and for the group that you worked with, right?
Yeah, I mean, I do not know him in this capacity at all. I know him as a very honorable, very humble person. That's not him now. He's the complete opposite of it. Right now, I mean, he actually sent me emails and I've been reading, I'm like, I don't know this person. Who is this? And it is shocking to me. And it's either that he's being paid or he's being threatened. I cannot see, it's just not normal. Or they've taken over his mind. It's concentrated now, Ramola. It's literally anybody who speaks to this man, who either, if you do not agree with him, he will lie about other people. He's just behaving out of character, Ramola. That's the only thing I can say. And so I am concerned for his well-being, his mental well-being, because he's not being considerate to anybody, and he doesn't seem to be aware. And if he is aware, why would you do this? Why would you put he's got an iconic, legendary career behind him. He's an icon by any stretch of the imagination. And for him to be doing that is just not happening. So for me, anyway, I have a responsibility because I did co-found it. Whatever they say about I didn't, the fact is that I did. And so I have a certain amount of responsibility. And so what I say to people is, do not donate to the tribunal. Do not support it. It's a tribunal that, I mean, there is the possibility that his ego is just inflated because this thing has become successful or whatever. It's just, that's a possibility, because people can be affected by popularity. If something gets popular, they just start changing overnight, it happens,
Yes,
so
of
there's
course, yeah. And, on the other hand, people's ego is something that they bring into situations as well. So I guess you and I disagree about Alfred, because, my reading of him comes from my own experience with him and my own reading of his work and who he interviews and what he affiliates with and the storylines and narratives that he endorses and that he has been doing consistently across a long period of time. I don't know to what extent he has helped his own credibility with the kinds of focuses he has been pushing over the years. And, people like you give him credibility because you have a solid story, a solid background, and you bring that to his show. But there are many people who do not give him credibility on his show. So then you come to this point where, there's a tribunal, and then the tribunal seems to be imploding thanks to strange action on the behalf of a few actors who are perhaps influencing him, or perhaps this is the way Alfred has indeed worked on other projects. You know, I certainly witnessed that at the 5G conference. So, and definitely after my experience with him over Catherine Horton, where he, let me see if I remember this right. He called her a star seed, a star child, somebody from the Pleiades who had her 12-strand DNA activated, crystal DNA or something like that, and was a genius. And therefore, everybody needed to run after her and drop me. So he actually wrote me an email telling me that I was incredibly egoistic. And this is after Catherine Horton went online and started to publish lies about me and about how Technogram Fighters Forum ended, etc. Okay. And so Catherine Horton, infiltrator extraordinaire, total intel operative, worms her way into his affections. He completely, falls for the storyline that she brings to him and cuts me out. So then my question over there would be, why is he listening to somebody who has obviously distinguished herself as an infiltrator, an agent provocateur? She was calling for all sorts of crazy things on our show, okay, and that's the reason our show terminated, because she was speaking out of line. And you know that, calls for violence that she made openly on our show, etc. How is it that he did not see any of that? How could he call her a star child from the Pleiades and all this other stuff, very new agey stuff, but basically he was propping her up on a pedestal. So in any case, after that, Seven, I see Alfred very differently. I see him as somebody who is easily taken in, who is joining hands with saboteurs and agent provocateurs. And right now, the fact that he still holds Karen Stewart up suggests to me that he is holding up somebody who's running incredible smear campaigns, not merely on myself, but on many other people. Okay, so Karen Stewart has also been turned, quote unquote. There is so much of that going on around us, in this world of alt media, activism, whistleblowing. There is so much sort of intel takeover going on that certainly I have viewed Alfred very cynically right from the get-go for many years now. So that has been my experience. Yours obviously is very different, and you're kind of having your wake-up moment right now.
Yeah, I think that he's actually easily taken in, like you said. And I also think it's very difficult to say this, but I think it's the truth. I mean, I saw something he wrote that we were Afro-racist or something, meaning, I don't know if it means racist against Afros. But basically, I think there's a race issue there, Ramola. I think that people that are brown are looked down upon. I actually think that.
That's dreadful. Doesn't
Yeah.
Alfred himself have like a Cuban background or something like that?
Absolutely, but he's still white. I mean, the reality is, he put my name at the bottom of the list. I was the founder with him, and all the videos I made with him for literally a year, Alfred. I'm sorry, Ramola. And I spent all my time.
Yeah, please don't mistake me for him.
No, sorry. And some people came along who he saw in higher esteem. I think because of ethnicity. I honestly think that.
That's awful. You did tell me that he kind of cut out various people of color, right, from the tribunal.
No, I honestly think that because Magnus and Lena Poo. Lena Poo is an expert. She's a brilliant woman. He let Lena go, and he let a guy who wasn't a tribunal judge, where there were complaints about lewd women pictures on his website. How do you, I mean, yeah, he knew him longer, so he could argue that he'd known him longer. But out of the two people, I don't know Magnus, and this is no disrespect to Magnus, because I can't really vouch for him or not vouch for him. I don't know him. But what I do know is that Lena was already a tribunal judge, and she came as a heavyweight. She is a heavyweight in terms of her knowledge, her brilliance, her expertise. She is the ultimate divine feminine warrior, along with yourself and many other brilliant women. And he let Lena go. Rebello from India.
That just sort of proves my point to me. You know, he lets go the real people, the people doing the real work, and he
Yeah,
clings to the wrong kinds of people.
that might be a subconscious thing that sometimes people don't know they're doing it. Do you know
See,
what I mean?
okay, maybe, but I'm too cynical, Seven. Sorry. I look at the whole COINTELPRO aspect of this and go, where's the deep state hand in all of this? And, you know, that's sort of what I see. So,
No, there's a deep state hand in this situation. I agree with you entirely. I mean, he brought in COINTELPRO to the tribunal. But my thing is, Ramola, I mean, I'm observing and I'm thinking, I'm thinking, is he actually aware, like really aware, like cognitive dissonance? Is this what's happening here? Is he actually aware of who he's brought in to this thing? Because
Seven, think of it. Look at the people that he's let go and that he has deprecated and dismissed. People like you, people like Lena Poo, and all of these other judges who seem to be being talked up by the other judges who see what they are bringing in, right? So it seems fairly clear to me. I wouldn't spend too much time thinking about it. Seven, I understand to you it's very difficult because you were good friends, you looked up to him, you believed in him, etc. And so it's kind of probably emotionally kind of difficult for you. But I'm sure you'll figure it out. It seems like you've certainly worked through a lot of this by spending a lot of time working on these documents, right? You wrote the judgment, you wrote the order. One is, 70 pages? The other is 28 pages. So,
I mean, the thing is, Ramola, I have actually emotionally moved on, to be honest with you. It's just that I have a duty to the public to let the people know what's going on.
You do, yeah, you definitely do, yeah.
When you have a situation where people are lying, obviously, we got to remember also, my case is for a lot of money, and they would need me to be defamed, to be removed and defamed. And
they do it to everybody, yeah. But in your case, I can see that, yeah.
They do it to everyone, but the level they're doing it to me is just a little bit over the top, Ramola. It's over the top, blatant. And so I wouldn't be surprised if there has been exchange of monies. I wouldn't be surprised. Also, I'm being used as a cash cow for a donation page when I'm not being given them. Why would you do that to somebody? You know that person is in an emergency. Why would you open up a GoFundMe and then keep the public's money?
So they did not give you the money? You did not get those monies that were donated?
Do you know, Ramola, I'm right now, the position I am now, we've already started our own, put together the blueprint of our own tribunal.
Terrific. So all of you who've left that tribunal are starting up a new tribunal. That's the status right now.
Well, some of us. Some of us. It's not all of us. It's some of us. Some people don't want to continue because they're so scarred. You know, I mean, I think John and Bonnie, the most beautiful couple, twin flame couple who were judges, they are mortally wounded. You know, they're totally.
I can imagine. Yeah. If you had no idea going in. Yeah.
You know, I mean, so there's a lot of people that are really, really hurt. But so my thing is this: we are in a situation where we have a crisis in the world. Because part of me just wants to say, you know what, go to hell, the lot of you. I just don't want to know. Leave me alone. Just leave me alone. But on another level, we have a crisis in the world, Ramola.
On the other hand, you do have to sometimes walk away from certain people and make ties and bonds and connections with those people with whom you can indeed forge forward, right?
That's right.
As you have done. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, so for me, to say, okay, forget about doing a tribunal, we need it. That's the reality. You know, we got people killing people, cartels. There's no judiciary. There's no police.
No, there's no law currently. There's nothing. There's absolute lawlessness going on.
Absolutely. So we have to have a tribunal, but we have to do it with authenticity. It has to be done according to law, it has to be due process, has to be respectful to people. You can't have a tribunal abusing people and being corrupt and going out there pretending, oh, we're helping the genocide. We're so concerned about the genocide, but right next to you, you're abusing the man next to you. Get off, get out of it.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
these people are absolute liars. And what is in the tribunal, I'm here to tell you, it's a farce. I helped to create it, and the Most High said, you got to expose it. I didn't even want to do any of this, but the reality is I'm accountable. As a person going forward, I don't want people to not know what actually happened. So I'm doing that. Let people know what's happened. Let people know, save your money. Don't donate to that tribunal anymore, unfortunately, because it's not going to the people you're intending to do. They're telling you the donations is going to. These are not honest people. At this point, I don't know what's happened to Alfred. I can't vouch. All I can say is that everything that I've seen written is just lies. It's coming out from him. So I don't know if people are threatening him to lie or whether he's voluntarily lying. I don't know what the situation is right now. So all I can say to people, in all honesty, is protect your money. Don't give your money to them. Don't support them. And the order has asked for a public apology and to apologize to the judges, you know, because people deserve that. You've defamed people's characters. We invited these people that are professionals to a tribunal only for them to become slandered. Come on, no, that's not acceptable. It's acceptable for the people there. They just want to go on and pretend like everything is hunky-dory. It isn't. It's a mess. It's absolute corruption going on in there, and it's gross. It's a cesspit of filth, lies and evil and wickedness, and I helped to create something that has been turned into that. And so I'm saying to the people, I'm letting you know the truth. I'm not going to let you people support this thing, and it is rotten to the core. It is rotten to the core, and those who have brought this upon them, this situation, they have a duty to apologize. I even apologize, even though I'm nothing to do with it. I apologize for this happening. Shouldn't have happened. Shouldn't have happened. It should be nothing for Alfred to apologize to all the people he's abused.
Yeah, but this whole issue of slander and defamation, Seven, isn't that how people are being publicly torn down currently in this old media space? You know, people are being put down, people are being slandered, people are being defamed very publicly, and because of that, their work, their voice, everything that they do is being marginalized, is being silenced, it's being disappeared by this onslaught of defamation and lies and slander. So when somebody does that, that is a serious offense.
It's wrong.
In my view. It is absolutely wrong. And it's unless, and what you've done today, I think it's highly commendable, because what you've done is you've given us the truth of the entire experience, not just experienced by you, but all the other judges who were slandered and defamed. And so that gives us from the outside a clearer picture of what really happened and what this tribunal consists of and who the parties are, who the players are. So each person can, looking at this and reading your documents, make up their own minds, can figure it out for themselves, right? And that pulls the veil down a little bit. I think what's happened for years and years and years in the old media space is too much has been forgiven, too much has been screened and covered and veiled over, and everything has been permitted to coexist. And I think we're at a point in time currently where those veils are literally being torn down, even through these means, which to other people looks like the same old thing, you know, the infighting, divisiveness, disintegration. But perhaps it's not the same old thing. Perhaps this is the moment of reckoning. Perhaps this is the moment when people can begin to be seen exactly for who and what they are. And that's sort of what I'm seeing listening to you. I'm sort of seeing a kind of real tearing down over here and a greater clarity emerging. And, I bet a lot of people will agree with me on that subject.
Yeah, it's a shame, Ramola, but the reality is, as we both say, it's about the truth. It's got nothing to do with anything else. And if you have someone, because I don't know the motive for it from Alfred, because I can, and I will not change, but to say Alfred was a really good man. He was a lovely man. People don't just switch personality. I know you're saying that you had a bad experience with him and he's been questionable.
Oh, I do think he's a lovely man too. I always thought he was, and I always admired a great deal a lot what he did. He wrote the Space Weapons Act that was introduced by Dennis Kucinich. He and someone else co-wrote it with him. Maybe it was Carol Rosen, I forget. But that's pretty awesome that he did that, and he's covered directed energy weapons in his shows for a very long time, a subject that not many people cover. He's covered targeting on his shows, which I also admire. Not many people have covered that. And the World Treaty Conference to ban non-lethal weapons, where he invited me on to be the Massachusetts representative. I thought that was a great venture. And shortly thereafter, he cut ties with me, so that venture went nowhere. And he cut ties with me because of Catherine Horton. Completely and absolutely thanks to Catherine Horton and the storylines that she fed him. It was nothing that I did. And yet you told me just now before we started that he said things to you about me. So in other words, that's slander to me. He slandered me to you. He told you a story that is not true about me.
Well, I asked him if I would allow, for clarification, I don't know if it was slander. To be honest, you would find it most probably, but I didn't know the details. Basically, what happened was I wanted to try to get you onto the Tribunal of Targeted Individuals. And he just explained that another tribunal, or another event went pear-shaped that you were involved in. And so basically...
That is slander. I'd like to know what event that is that went pear-shaped that I was involved in.
I don't know. I just didn't go there. And
I had nothing to do with anything that went pear-shaped involving Alfred Weber whatsoever. He's off there doing his own media and I'm here doing my own media. The only connection that we had was this World Treaty Conference, which he invited me on and which he dropped me from entirely because of Dr. Catherine Horton. Okay, and that's something you have to ask him about. Why did he do that? Because he cut me out. I did not cut him out of anything, and I had no kind of pear-shaped problem with him about any subject whatsoever.
Well, I would say this. In all of the instances, I think he's blindsided when it comes to people who are manipulative and malevolent. In all the cases of people who are, they're sent in to him, and he will take these people's sides against somebody that he should have better judgment against. And so I think it's a case of him not really recognizing. It's possible that he knows who they are. I don't know. I don't see him like that. I see him manipulated. I think he's being manipulated.
It certainly looked to me at the time when he was engaging in conversations and emails with a group of us. I have to go back and look at these emails to refresh my memory as to what went down actually in that back and forth with him. But it appears to me what I'm recalling now is that he was completely sticking up for Catherine Horton. I'm sure it had something to do with Melanie and, the baby, Erasmus Hospital. I think it had something to do with that. The story there, right? Catherine Horton was fully responsible for the loss of her child.
Yeah, I do remember that. But
from the hospital.
I think I think he took her side automatically and he didn't think about the situation, just like he's taking other...
He was manipulated by her, most certainly. I mean, she was working on hypnotizing and manipulating him. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I honestly think that's what's happening to him now. All of his emails that are abusive to me have Rima's name in it. They have the name. They created a division of the tribunal whereby they are around him and only him. And he's being told what to say, what to do. I honestly think that he is being manipulated and controlled, and in that way, I think he's possibly in danger himself. But it's possibly he's actually going for it, but not realizing why he's going for it, if that makes any sense. But anyway, I just have a responsibility to inform people what's happening. And we are going to be creating another tribunal, a fresh reset tribunal. It's not even a reset, it's just fresh, starting from scratch.
Terrific.
You know, and it will have, the ethos will continue. There will not be any abuse of people. I mean, the fact that there's all of this abuse from people and you're not addressing it, you know, I'm saying to you, you need to address this. You can't just allow people to go out saying these things about you and you're not saying anything. You're just basically maligning these people, not taking any responsibility for it. So anyway, that's the situation. And you know, I have other projects going on. I'm going to launch my new network.
Wonderful.
And,
what kind of network are you talking about?
Media.
Okay.
That's my background. I mean, before I got into law, I was in media. I
Mm-hmm.
was in the entertainment industry and music. So I'm going back to my roots a little bit. And the tribunal really is because we need it.
Yeah.
We need it. You know, it won't be my tribunal. It will be a tribunal for people, by people, and it will be run with a very tight ethos, whereby people, if you have a complaint, there'll be a complaints procedure. There'll be, you know, people will be, it won't be emails slagging people off, writing nasty things about people. Completely deep state. It will be professional. You know, if there's a complaint, you bring it to the table, you deal with it professionally. It's not all this slagging everybody off, you saying this and saying, I don't do toxic. It's too toxic for me. I don't do toxicity at all. I just don't want to engage in that. I just spent a year of my life doing this. So I have a responsibility to clean it up, you know, as much as I can do, and have an accountability to myself, to people, to apologize. I don't know what happened. I tried to, you know, make sure it was done properly, but then Alfred he basically handed it over to the deep state. And so I don't want no parts of that anymore. Cut myself out of it. I've tried. We put the judgment together, done the final judgment. It's got all the information in terms of historically what happened, if anybody wants to know. There's an order that asked Alfred to return the monies by the 21st. He hasn't. He's basically created a whole smoke and mirrors fluff to answer about the money. Like, you know, you're using my name and my information to gather money, but you think that I don't have a right to actually tell you to address it. You know, I don't want anything to do with somebody that would do that. I can't anymore. I mean, if you found out I was doing that to you, Ramola, what would you think? You'd think, oh my God, somebody's using your name, and then you confront the person and they're literally making this big drama, slagging people off and No,
I think you've done a fabulous job. Yeah, you've done a fabulous job today clearing your name, actually, and sort of, you know, letting people know what your true intentions have always been and still are, and you know, within the context of this complete
it's you know,
mania that's occurred.
It's mania, and I apologize, Ramola, for anything that you've experienced. I apologize to you. I'm about love and peace and truth. That's me. You know, I
that's quite all right.
Justice. But you know, I wasn't there when Alfred and you had whatever, but I apologize.
Yeah, I'm going to dig out those emails and I'm going to send them to you. Actually, I'd like the truth of these email exchanges also to be published now that I have brought them up and spoken publicly about them. It's been a couple of years now. You know, I haven't been in touch with Alfred at all ever since he did this. So I have indeed spoken with other people to whom he did the same thing. Melanie Richard, for instance, who also is someone who had a very long, good relationship with him, like you did, but who was cut off from him because of his being influenced by Catherine Horton. So,
yeah, in my case, it's not Catherine, it's Rima and Michael Zadia and Ralph Sutola. And I mean, I have a stream of emails that have come into my account, and there's an order, you know, let's be professional, answer the order. Yes, I have your donations. Yes, I have been using your name to collect donations 7 years. You can have those money back. Oh, I will stop collecting donations. Whatever the case may be, you don't start writing a whole lot of, it just is so juvenile.
he
It's
started to send you emails demanding a settlement. He wanted you to come to a kind of mediation where you would be publicly reprimanded, and then a settlement would be given to you where your silence could be further secured by giving you these monies from the donation. And I think that was part of it. And I think this particular podcast over here, you've blown that out of the water, because you're not being silent about it.
Intention. Listen, I don't do, nobody disrespects me in the way that this man has disrespected me and thinks that I'm going to go and sit and talk
Thank
anyway.
you, Seven. Stand up for yourself.
I want a public apology from him and his deep state people. He has abused me. He's abused my time, my patience, my love. What he's done is unforgivable. But because I have a lot of love for that man and a lot of respect for him, I've given him the opportunity to make right what he must know is wrong. You cannot be collecting monies and slandering all these people, and I'm coming to you and saying, look, this is unacceptable. These people, you're hurting people. You're hurting people. Not me, you are hurting people. Look, he's basically, I said to him, he said, okay, let's go to a settlement meeting about a grievance with you. I said, the grievance, Alfred, is, look at all those messages. They've been going on since December. And not one of them has been answered. You just ignore it as if it doesn't matter, and that, you know, you're a legend, so everybody's going to let you just talk to people like crap. Can't do it. He spoke to Kemet in a horrible way. There's an elder called Vasco. I spoke to him recently, and I said to him, explain to me what happened to you. And this is a wonderful man. He would be a great person to come onto your show. He's a wonderful man from the Caribbean community. He's an elder, much like Alfred, and he's a great researcher. He's an extremely intelligent man. They had a difference of opinion about Trump, and then he absolutely started taking after this man in front of a meeting. So the man explained it to me the other day, and I just felt so bad, and I had to apologize for him. But I can't do it anymore, so I'm going to wash my hands of this. I'm basically doing this to, you know, just basically to, for the record, set the record straight, because there are lies being told. Oh, she wasn't the founder, she wasn't. Okay, let's get the evidence out. I spent my year building this thing alongside you, busting my ass to get people in. Otherwise, Rima and all of those people would not have any tribunal to have to join. They're there because of me, because of my work, and because of my labor and my time. If it wasn't for my time and my labor, none of these people would be there. They don't have any respect for that. They don't, but I do. And I take it very, very unkindly that somebody would think that they can actually abuse my time and my energy. These are energy vampires.
Well, yes, I think I've certainly learned that about certain people. People like Catherine Horton and Karen Melton Stewart. Energy vampire is a good way of describing them.
There's many of them, unfortunately, Ramola. And as I said to you before, when you have a case like mine, where there's a lot of money involved, people will do this. It happened to me before with my ex-partner. They were paid to try to make me look like, because you see, there's people living off my estate right now, and they need me to look like a whatever. They need me to be painted in a way that I'm just not. And so they've employed people like Alfred, maybe known or unbeknownst to him. Maybe he's aware of it. I don't know. Maybe he's not aware of it. Whatever the case may be, I'm here to set the record straight and let everybody know that Tribunal has been it's been totally compromised. and there are people in there that are basically the same people that the tribunal are supposed to be going after. They're now inside the tribunal, and so it's a nonsense. At this point, it's a nonsense. The actual tribunal, in terms of its function and the cease and desist orders, that's all wonderful. But if they can't take care of the people that are sitting in the tribunal as well, it's as good as, it's rotten. It's rotten. I'm sorry. If you can't treat people in a respectful manner and you're telling people that you care about a genocide, they're bringing a genocide into the tribunal. They've brought toxicity into the tribunal. They've brought hatred, abuse, mistreatment into the tribunal. And then they say, oh, we're concerned about the genocide going over there. It's a lie. They care nothing. What they care about is being able to be perceived as powerful, having an instrument as powerful. After the investigations, and Alfred was given 7 days to address the monetary issue. I mean, I'm sure Alfred or any of these people wouldn't accept me opening a GoFundMe and living off the money of it, and they don't get any of it, and the public has under the deception that you're giving the money to this particular person. I'm coming forward to say that's not the truth. That's wrong.
Yeah.
That's wrong. So anyway, I just... Sorry, Ramola, go ahead.
Not at all, not at all. I was just going to say, and I think your coming forward is important, and the fact that you're speaking out is important. I was just trying to find that email. I can't quite find it right now from Alfred, but I'll try to find it and send it to you later. But because I'd like to clarify what that is all about as well, and because I don't like the way that people go around slandering and defaming me, just as much as you don't like anybody slandering and defaming you.
I don't think he was.
And if Alfred is saying things to you about me, imagine what he's saying to others about me.
I want to clarify here, because I asked Alfred for you to join a tribunal. It wasn't Alfred coming to me. I want to really make that point.
Right, I get that. I get that. You brought up my name with Alfred, yes.
I went to Alfred about you because to me, you are an authority on targeted individuals. And so when they were starting a tribunal of targeted individuals, I thought, oh my God, Ramola would be so great for that. I have to sit down and tell Alfred, look, Alfred, listen, consider Ramola. She's brilliant, and you're an authority on the subject. And then, he didn't even really want to talk about it. So I don't want to bring him in to make it sound like he was gossiping, because he was not. That's not.
No. I understand that he didn't bring it up, and he wasn't gossiping, but he did tell you. He did tell you. You brought it up, but he did tell you he didn't want to talk about it, and then he appears to have stated something that is absolutely false. I did not have anything to do with ending any of his projects. He ended them all himself. So
well, unfortunately, I don't know what's happened to Alfred. In regards to you, he's never once, and this is in all honesty, I'm not a liar. I would never lie, and I would never lie on a public broadcast. I just wouldn't do it. Alfred has never, in all the time I've known him, I'm always the one to bring you up, because I'm trying to, he might be doing something that I just think, oh my God, Ramola is so excellent at this thing. Alfred, bring in Ramola. Let's get Ramola. I'm always like this. In fact, I wanted to get you in for the judges. I wanted to get you, because I said, Lena.
Thank you, Seven. Thank you for thinking of me.
You were on the list of judges, on my list of judges. But I knew that there was a contention. I never had asked you what the contention was. And I had never asked Alfred what the contention was. I just knew these are two brilliant people and they're not communicating. We're going to start a tribunal. We should have Ramola. That's how I thought. And then, I was badgering him. Look, I want to bring Ramola. And so, I really don't want you to be offended like he's kind of been. He hasn't. That's not what happened, and that's the truth.
Okay. Okay,
Yes.
but I will
So
clarify and I will
rest,
publish on this
rest
further
assured.
now that we've brought it up.
Yeah,
Because
rest
I,
assured.
yeah, because like you, I like to, you know,
Get to the facts.
get to the facts, put the facts out there. And if part of the facts surface or emerge in a conversation, I'd like the truth to be out there.
That's right.
So, yeah.
And I'm the first person to say the truth. If he has slandered those people, that's why their emails are there. Those are their emails. That's what they've been saying.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
people have been addressing him. And instead of addressing it, he's slandering more people. And I'll be damned, Ramola, if after I busted my ass to build that tribunal, he's going to slander me and tell lies about me and make it look like, oh, she didn't do anything. Hell no. Hell no, he's not going to get away with that one. I'll bring every piece of evidence until he has to sit there and apologize in front of everybody in my face. What he said is absolutely lies, Ramola, and he's got to stop. He's got to stop in the name of the Most High, name of love. He's got to stop. So I would say to everybody, I can't apologize enough. As I said, Alfred was my absolute love. He was. Everybody knew. Was no secret to anybody. But I love the truth. And I love myself. I can't let somebody who's being compromised by somebody else, because I love them, I cannot let them just go around like
Walk over you.
No way. It's impossible. I'm like,
No, you've got the right attitude, stand up for yourself, put the truth out there, and don't let anybody step on you.
No, he's not going to step on me so easy. He's with the wrong move. I said, listen, big mistake. Don't go there. Don't go there. Honestly, leave me alone. Just don't use my name for making money. There's money change hands for me. I tell you that. 100%. 100%.
That's a really interesting thought that you think that. Wow.
100%, Ramola. Nobody puts their whole life online and makes so many lies. I know it, Ramola. My spirit doesn't lie.
It's probably what's happened in my case as well, with people turning against me and starting to publish lies about me. Karen Melton Stewart. Oh, all washed. Have nothing to do with them. But if they put slander out, I will publish the fact that it is slander,
Yeah, I mean, at this point for myself, I think anybody who's intelligent, who will look at this whole debacle with me and see the evidence, they'll look at Alfred and it's not going to be favorable, and look at Rima, they're going to know these people are definitely deep state. To actually try to deceive people that she's not the co-founder, that's outright deception, and that's undermined a year of labor. Do you know how many hours I clocked up working for that
I
tribunal?
know you have, absolutely. Yeah.
And for him to turn around and do that, or any of them, no, you just pressed the wrong button. But you know what? We have a new tribunal, and I have an exciting project, and I'm so happy to see the last of this situation. I don't want to deal with them.
Excellent. Yeah, at this point, put it behind you, close the door, walk away, and step forward.
Going on. But obviously, I have a duty to tell the public what happened, and so that's what it is. I might have to do a few more of these before the situation, until it's disseminated and everybody's basically up to speed. I don't have to answer any more questions. I'm not going to do the email thing. You said this, and then shout back at someone. I'm not going to do that. I'm not interested in that. I just want to do productive stuff, and the rest of this stuff, as I said, it's in the past. I put it in the past, but I do have a duty. Once people are lying, you have a duty and to set the record
absolutely straight. Set the record straight, put the truth out there. So
thank
Seven,
you. I know this is a long one. It's a very, very long one, but
it's a very, very long one. It's an unusually long one, but
it's
thank you very much.
Yes, an expose, exclusive, whatever you want to call it.
Let's call it an exclusive expose.
Yes, absolutely.
Of the inner workings and underpinnings of the tribunal, which has come to an end. Sadly.
It's a cesspit, people. It really is, and I deeply, deeply apologize for that happening. and don't waste your time with it. It's not worth it. It's not worth anything at this point. If they cleared it up, I don't know. But he'd have to do a public apology. There'd have to be some form of transparency for it to be worth anything. If it's just going to be, no, I didn't say that, I didn't do that, and all smoke screens and more lies.
That's what seems to be happening right now, looking at the emails. So, you know,
yeah,
whatever, right?
Thank
So,
you, Ramola, and everybody who's watching this. Thank you.
you're very welcome. Thank you so much, Seven, for speaking openly, putting the truth out there. And thank you for letting me jump in as well. So thanks everyone for watching. And hopefully this just clarifies all of these scenarios a little bit better. And, you know, people get a deeper understanding of the truth of what's going on out here.
Unfortunately, they don't want it to come out, but, you know, tough. You know, the truth is out. And so let's look forward to the good stuff that's coming. And as I said, we will be doing a tribunal, a follow-up tribunal. I'm not sure the timeline. I'm talking to loads and loads of people at the moment, and I'm vetting everybody. And, you know, everybody's coming from a reputable source. You know, if I don't know them personally, somebody knows them personally, you know, so there's a lot of that going on to ensure that by the time we actually put the clan and the tribe together, it's going to be a really powerful, high frequency, good, solid situation there, you know. And as I said, we will be dealing with other issues, targeting, gang stalking, and all this stuff. So probably when it's underway, I'll come back and maybe talk about that. But in the meantime, hopefully we could collab on the network with some news stories, but I will talk about that.
Definitely. Let's talk about that off air. Yeah. So let's close for now. Thank everyone for watching. And, you know, Seven, if you want to come back and do a follow-up to this one, not a 3-hour one probably, but a follow-up talking about your new venture, certainly. Yeah, certainly. You're very welcome.
Thank you, Ramola. Much love to you and
welcome.
your family.
Much love to you, as always.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Bye, everyone. Have a good night.
Bye.
I'm going to hit stop recording. Bye for now.